Hey everybody, this is Jeremiah from Take the Ring, and welcome to a special community chat that I'm doing with the one and only Cameron Cloutier, and we're going to talk about his Queen of Hearts Twin Peaks fan film. Real quick housekeeping stuff for me. I haven't posted a video in a while. I'm hard at work on my next video, which is a reworking of a video I made for a conference last year. So you probably won't see any live chats or anything from me until later on this summer, and I'll drop the first video in my Twin Peaks occult studies. And I'm reworking graphics, and I rewrote it and I re-edited it. So a lot of it's the same if you saw it last year, but it's basically been private for a year and Patreon only. Speaking of, if you want to see it now, you can join my Patreon, takethering.com or patreon.com/takethering. $430 a month gets you all access to my Patreon, and I've got giveaways, and I do an exclusive podcast on there if you really want to know what I'm working on, like, you know, in super annoying long detail. Anyway, so Cameron,
one of these days I'm gonna win that poster. So.
Yep, I'm doing a poster drawing once a month in till October. So if you active patrons, about the middle of every month, I'm shooting for the 15th of every month is when I do my Patreon drawing. So if you're an active patron, you're eligible for an awesome character poster of all the Twin Peaks characters.
It's really well done.
Yeah, that guy, his name's Matt Smith. He's an illustrator. He's great. Donated him to the channel as a Patreon drive. So Cameron, congratulations. Yes. You posted Act 5. For those of you who don't know, Act 5 was posted last week. Mm-hmm. And the full cut of all acts together is coming. But basically, Queen of Hearts is done and it's all out. And if you want to watch it, go to the Annie Blackburn YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, search Annie Blackburn. And of course, Cameron is at Obnoxious and Anonymous. That's his YouTube channel. And that's where, so the Annie Blackburn channel, go ahead and explain it. Annie Blackburn is where the show is. And Obnoxious and Anonymous is your regular channel where you talk about all of that and more.
I kind of wanted a dedicated channel for the film itself. Just in case I blew up YouTube, it wouldn't pull down my channel or something.
Yeah, totally. All right. So, so I made a bunch of notes. I already told you I'm going to go through here and try not to, mumble too much, but I've seen a lot of questions out there involving the original script. So people that don't know, Cameron kind of came up with this idea years ago when season 2 ended on a big cliffhanger.
No, I actually came up with it a couple of months after Firewalk with Me.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, that would make sense. So basically you've had this idea in your mind for 25 years. And
so the original idea was I wanted to see a story where it would go back and forth between following Annie post season 2 and also the Cooper Wyndham Caroline story. It would go back and forth in time, sort of Godfather 2 style, Dead Again style, and basically build until both women were looking at each other eye to eye in the Black Lodge wearing the same dress. And I figured it would more or less conclude with Annie giving the message to Laura in the bed, because that's all I had to go on, right? The original script for Fire Walk with Me, which at that point you had to mail away for it. It does not clarify at the end when Annie is being rushed into the hospital that she's wearing the floral dress. It just says that she's being rushed in. So I just assumed, based on the script, that she was being rushed in wearing the Miss Twin Peaks dress as she comes out of the Black Lodge wearing at the end of season 2. But because everything in Fire Walk with Me is flipped, right? She's wearing the floral dress. So I wanted to account for that in this film, which I did. Show that she went to the Glastonbury Grove twice. So anyway, so the original story more or less concluded, at least in my head, with Annie giving the message to Laura. But then by the time got around to making it, season 3 had come out, and the 2 books and the final dossier had come out. So I felt like I wanted to incorporate all that material into it and kind of make it like a really kind of epic. So it already was, but then I wanted to kick it up another notch. So that's kind of like where Act 5 comes in.
Interesting. So it kind of if you had made it back then, it probably would have ended like Act 4-ish. I mean, there's other stuff there's other return stuff weaved in and out through that, but that makes sense. I was going to ask you where did it end exactly?
I didn't honestly have an ending. I just assumed it would kind of, because in the original story and in the script that was written, there's the character of Dean, and he's part of the Bookhouse Boys. But in the script, we had a lot of other Bookhouse Boys and also, quote unquote Bookhouse babes. We kind of intermixed. We had both genders in there, and midway through the script, they're all wiped out. So because of COVID, we couldn't shoot that situation, that whole scenario. So we had to change ones. We would remove a huge set piece and replace it with the scene of Annie telling Dean, whispering in his ear, and then lay down in the bed and doing the prayer and all that. And that, the reason why I was able to figure out how to do that was because in season 3, there's that moment where Mr. C's in his car and the red drapes appear out in the desert. And so that kind of gave me the feeling like, okay, basically, like if the Black Lodge wants you, you can enter anywhere. You don't have to really be at Glastonbury Grove per se. So I figured if Annie willingly just said, okay, Black Lodge, you want me, I'm coming to you, and we're going to just hash this out. Whereas in the original script, the Bookhouse Boys and babes were taking Annie into the woods to Jack Rabbit's palace, and one by one, she would be looking around as they're walking through the woods, and they'd all just kind of be, where there was, 15, now there's 10, and they would just be all disappearing to the point that it was just her. And then she would realize that she's alone. She starts running through the woods, and then she stops, and she's getting really scared. She says the prayer to herself, and then that she says on the bed, and then she would be like, basically the red drapes would drop in front of her and she'd be pulled in. So that whole set piece, because of the COVID situation, we lost the location and we had to remove that. Made it a much more subtle scene, obviously, but still I was like, how the heck are we going to get her in the Black Lodge? Because we needed that transition moment. So.
Right. I remember that scene in the script. I think that we talked around the time you were putting that together. It was like, it's got to go because of COVID. It's like the one major one that had to be really.
That was the major one. The other one was that we lost the gazebo. So we had a gazebo by a lake in another state. We had it booked for months. We were going to shoot there, be able to do all these beautiful scenery shots and all this. And obviously we're talking spoilers here. So when Annie would be walking away from Cooper after she talks to him in the gazebo, how like there's that scene where it's on her face as she's walking away and she's kind of on the road and she's, and all that. That was originally supposed to be on her face as she's walking away from the gazebo, and you would see Cooper in the gazebo getting further and further away from her as she's moving on. Well, the location we ended up finding, which is the gazebo in my hometown, which is kind of funny. Like literally we have sort of like an Easter Park type of situation, right? So we have that gazebo, and because of COVID, there was nobody there. So we just showed up one day and did it. But the problem is that it's not isolated, away from things. So we basically had to shoot everything in just tight close-ups without the scenery shots. But I think that the power of Maddie and Nico's performances is there enough where it doesn't matter. Although, I mean, in retrospect, I would have loved to have seen that scene of like the wide shots of the lake and the gazebo and them walking to, you know what I mean? Just, you want a picturesque thing as opposed to just 2 close-ups. But again, it's dialogue driven, so you're kind of invested at that moment.
So yeah, spoiler alert for anybody watching. So we're going to talk about all of it. So it's all out. if you haven't seen it, then go watch it and then watch this later.
I had somebody on Twitter. I had somebody on Twitter yesterday say, "I better start watching this before you start posting all the pictures that spoil everything." And I'm thinking, yeah, you should have been watching for like months. It's been it's been out like the act's been out for months, except for Act 5.
So speaking of that, that's on my list. I love the gazebo scene because the ducks. So they're sitting at the gazebo and they're talking, and it goes back and forth. And so first you get a shot of the ducks, and it's reminiscent of that. Is it the pilot? Is it the pilot? The ducks? Yeah, the ducks outside of the Martell's home. So you've got this shot of the ducks in the water that's super reminiscent of that pilot shot, which is great. And then as they're talking about the time riffs and stuff.
Right.
And so Cooper's like, oh, I did all this. I changed all of this, like whatever. And then you cut back a couple lines of dialogue later. You cut back to the ducks, and they're different. They're kind of going in different directions. And then they all have trails of rippling water. And I just thought that was great because they're literally talking about like creating ripples in the time stream, and you've got these ducks in a stream like creating ripples. I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah, originally I remember saying I wanted to do it at the gazebo because I thought it'd be really beautiful and picturesque. But I mean, to keep it series continuity, they really should have been in a canoe. But the idea of us going out onto the lake with a canoe and trying to get those shots, Maddie was like, "You're gonna fall out of the boat." Okay, so just, and I agree because like I was like, I am not getting on the water. I didn't, Steven Spielberg said never shoot anything on the water after he did Jaws.
After Jaws.
So I was like, no. I always wanted, because I love that gazebo scene between Maddie and James before she goes home or before she claims to go home, where like, she's kind of looking at him and realizes he's a good person and stuff like that, And so I wanted to kind of have a moment like that. And also Cooper kisses Annie at the gazebo in the series when Wyndham Earle spots them with the binoculars. So I figured it tied in.
Yeah. Oh, totally. So now we're going to jump. That was my note at the end. The ducks. Don't forget the ducks and the gazebo. But so back to the beginning. So most people know that you crowdfunded it, and then it was greenlit and everything seemed to go, but then there was problems and you had some people signed on and dropped off, and then in the meantime you had a child, and that kind of moved some things around.
Well, the original plan was, when it first was a go, I was trying to figure out like, okay, logistically, how am I going to shoot this thing? Am I going to shoot this thing, here where I live, more or less in California, and then do a lot of exteriors and some stuff up there, which is what we ended up doing. But then when I was up there, I kind of got talked into, well, you could shoot everything up here. And I thought that would be ideal and that would be great. And we could kind of use parts of Seattle as Pittsburgh or whatever like that. I was kind of being sold on that idea. And the original plan was to, after my son was born, we were, going to have family around, stuff like that. And so they said, what you can do is, since we're around, you can go and shoot the film over the summer and then come back and then edit it, when I come back. But it ended up getting postponed because, like I said, people jumped on and then jumped off. And, for a variety, I've honestly, a lot of reasons I don't even understand to this day, but whatever. So it ended up getting like pushed back until like the fall of 2018. But then when the original kind of people that were jumped on kind of jumped off, I realized, well, we're not going to be able to do that. And so that kind of threw the project into sort of a limbo, because I was like, okay, well, where am I going to shoot this thing? And now I don't have really anybody like helping. And a lot of people in the Twin Peaks community, were taking sides about this and that because of just, whatever. Because they love the drama and the gossip. And so it was like I couldn't get people in the community to help out. So I realized I was going to have to like completely do this on my own, which is fine. But at the same time, like you hope you would have a few people to help you out, So I and then obviously the kid, throws in a whole equation, right? So it was just about getting refocused, figuring out what I needed, who I needed, and where we were going to shoot all this stuff. So I finally decided that basically what's going to be more convenient is to do what they did in the original show, which is to go up there, shoot all the exteriors you need, shoot crucial shots you need, and then come back and shoot everything else in California and just mix the two. Because most of Twin Peaks, I know a lot of people, we love the Washington area up there. And it's so much fun to go up there and see all the locations. But when you break it down, the majority of Twin Peaks was filmed in California, including season 3. So I figured, that's kind of really keeping in spirit with the whole thing. So anyway, the first person I had involved was Charlotte Roy, who plays Caroline. She was actually cast relatively soon after. I would say, I think she was cast like in the spring of 2018. So she was incredibly, she waited a year and a half until we actually started shooting. I kept saying like, I really want you to, there was no, like we had, a few different actresses who wanted to be Annie, and then for whatever reasons they didn't work out. We had one other actor who was going to play Cooper, that didn't work out. We changed a lot of people, but there's certain people that did not ever change. Charlotte never changed from Caroline. Paul never changed from Wyndham Earl. There was always one choice. Mindy was always going to play Diane. And Ruby was always going to be Laura Palmer. Like there was just certain people that stayed. And they were just like, listen, just whenever you need us, just give us the heads up. We'll make it work. And I said, great. Because it put a lot of pressure on me because I was like, I felt like I was like, I didn't want to feel like I was stringing them along, but that's what it felt like because the project kept going on and on and on. But what's been really nice is now that people have seen the whole thing, to get emails and messages from people saying, dude, the wait was completely worth it. Like it came out exactly the way I wanted it to come out. So that makes me really happy, because I've gotten some people who've written to me saying like, what do you think you're making here? This is a little fan film, put it out there, and it's like, yeah, but the intention was never to just make, for legal reasons, you have to call it a fan film, but the intent was always to make something that would at least emotionally stand side by side with the original series. I mean, my feeling was Mark Frost and David Lynch delivered this amazing world to us, and I wanted to kind of pay it back to them. And I think that anybody who watches Queen of Hearts knows straight up that like this doesn't negate Lynch and Frost at all. In fact, it actually complements their work. And I've had a lot of people say to me, this actually makes season 3 better for them. So that's cool. I mean, whatever helps, right? So.
Yeah, totally. No, that's good. So you've got, so what are we talking, like early 2019, you got the team together?
I would say, well, in March 2019, I went up there with an actress who was going to play Annie, and she shot one day and quit.
Right.
So, but then I think it was like 2 months later, Maddie's mom contacted me and just said, just so you know, I remember you were going to make this film up in Washington and I wanted my daughter to audition for it, but I know you're in California and my daughter just moved to your town, can she meet with you about possibly playing a role in the film? And I said, sure. And ended up, I met with her and I said, at that point we had another actress cast as Annie. And I said to her, well, I have these other, smaller parts and stuff like that. And she just said, well, could I, do some other things just to get stuff for my reel? And I said, absolutely. And I said, but what I really need more than anything is somebody to kind of help me get this off the ground, because I had done a lot of preliminary work, but because I'd had a lot of time, but I wasn't free until like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, after working, kid, etc. And I need somebody to like get a lot of phone calls and things cemented during the day. And she was like, "Oh, I can totally do that." So I gave her a few, tasks, that I felt like were relatively easy, but at the same time time consuming. And she pulled those off in like, half an afternoon. So I was like, okay, let's try this. And so we ended up getting this film off the ground probably within like, we were shooting 4 months after we met. And so everything just kind of really came together. And then when we lost the other Annie, Maddie stepped in, and she is the perfect Annie Blackburn. So keep in mind that like when I would talk with her, she did not look like this that you're seeing on the screen. She had her hair, and braided back and glasses and things like that. So I was, so when she put her hair down and was able to like try on the outfits, I was like, you should have been Annie Blackburn from the start, but anyway, so things worked out the way they did. But she came on late spring. We had to make a few other actor changes. Like I said, we changed out Cooper. We did our script read, I believe, in like late August, early September. We went up to Washington area, and we shot the exteriors, and then we started with Cooper and Caroline and Wyndham early November. And we shot November, and then I think a week into December, then we took the break off for Christmas and stuff like that. Came back around New Year's and went all the way until March 2020 until we had to shut down for the pandemic. Then we came back, let's say in late June, and just finished up the last week. If we had not taken that time off in December, we probably would have been able to get everything in the script film, because we would have, missed we would have been early enough for the pandemic.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's really like kind of the end of 2019 and beginning of 2020, like are you filming right up to COVID?
Like literally okay. So the scene where Annie is at the mission from Vertigo,
right?
That was shot on a Tuesday morning, the day of, we were told that lockdown was going to happen at 10 o'clock that night. So like nobody was at the church. So we went there first thing in the morning, shot that. And then we had to do a couple pickup shots of her walking down the street for the ending. Right?
Yeah.
So we went and did that at around 9:30. She was back home by 10, and I was on my way home, and we were on lockdown.
Wow.
So
yeah, on the screen here, we're just playing some of the first act. Real quick, is that Pittsburgh?
That is Pittsburgh.
Did you ask somebody? Did you go to Pittsburgh?
No. There are sites where if you pay money and stuff like that, you can get
stock. Yeah, that's cool.
You can get stock footage, and also but then like sounds and stuff like that, like I did the sound work and stuff like that, but in terms of like, there were a couple like establishing shots that we could, we're not going to fly to Pittsburgh for one shot.
Oh yeah, no, that's why I was curious. I was like, oh, okay.
But news does that all the time too, like you get stock footage, how it is.
Oh yeah, totally. I don't know why I didn't think. It never crossed my mind. I figured that like you knew somebody or somebody that donated or whatever, and you're like, hey, I just need a shot of the river, the bridge, and they just went out and did it. But no, it looks great. And
I love the idea of it cutting from Annie in the hospital to you hear the sound of the train, and then it just says Pittsburgh, and then it says 5 years earlier. As a Twin Peaks fan, that would make me really excited, because I would know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, and that's it. Because I remember Maddie was like nervous. She was like, "How are people going to know this is two different time frames?" And I said, "Well, one, it's established in the title card, but also people who are Twin Peaks fans know, like what story we're in."
Yeah,
and it hasn't been a problem. And there's one moment in Act 3 where we're dealing with Tulpa Annie with Dean, Cooper with Caroline. We're doing basically 3 different timelines intercut at the same time, and nobody's confused. So
yeah, I was just gonna say, at some point, the whole when exactly does this take place? Like you just kind of roll with it. It's kind of already in your mind. Like, okay, this is here, this is here. So,
and we don't betray that. Like it's always set different, you know.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to know, so
hang on one second. I just want to say this scene right here was the last scene we shot because this was supposed to be inside. They were supposed to like be like inside, but we lost the location because of the pandemic. And I was like, I really want to do this scene, but what are we going to do? We're just going to have them in the parking lot? You're like, this is ridiculous, you know? But I'm glad we did do it because, yeah, you need the scene of Cooper meeting Wyndham Earle. You know, you can't just have it say, Diane, I've just been assigned to work with this new guy, Wyndham Earle. Like that would suck. Like you want to see the moment they meet.
When they meet, yeah, totally.
So this scene was shot in the parking lot of the building we shot the offices in, and we just couldn't step in the office because of the pandemic.
So you got the team together. Maddie's on board as co-producer and as Annie. Things are rolling. So I was curious, what was the moment when everything like clicked? Like when did you go? Because I'm sure you're still a ball of nerves by that point anyway. Like, and I'm sure it wasn't when you first fired up the camera. Maybe it was when Maddie joined, but like when did you go, man, I think we're gonna pull this off. I think this is actually gonna happen.
I mean, because you're always a bundle of nerves all the way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, do you ever really know the answer to that question? But you know what I mean? Like when was the moment where you were just like, man, cool. Actors are good. Actors are good. I'm happy with it.
Well, I was happy with it all the way through, but I kept thinking, I think around December or so, I kept thinking, well, we've gotten the ball rolling so far now that we're just gonna keep going, you know, and we're just gonna at that point, you know, it's just kind of like it's literally the boulder in Raiders of the Lost Ark. We're going down the hill. There's no stopping. I mean, at a certain point, a production the momentum starts going, and then once people have kind of bought into it, like I think the first like day or two, obviously people are happy to do it and that type of thing, but I think once you kind of buy into it, once the actors buy into it, and they're like, okay, we've already put so much time into this thing, you know, it's like let's see this through. And plus, we kept like upping ourselves, like, okay, wow, that scene turned out good. And then we would go, okay, now next weekend we're going to do this. And then that turned out good. And so we were happy, you know, with the way it was going. But I don't think they were, you know, I know the actors were happy, but I think they were really happy once they saw the rough cut of it. Because, you know, they've done other projects before where like, you know, where it's like sometimes it doesn't come out the way you think it's going to, whatever. And even just in the rough cut, which meant, you know, no sound work, nothing. They just kind of saw a rough thing of it. They're like, okay, cool. You're like, we know when this is done, it's going to be awesome. So at that point, again, there was the pandemic. We still had ADR to do and all that kind of stuff. So Maddie was leaving town. A few other actors were leaving town. So we brought them in, did theirs first. Then I worked on the sound, and then 2021 is when I started bringing the other actors in and finished their ADR. And then what happened was this film was always supposed to be one huge film, which is what I'm planning to release. It was always written that way. The script is only 98 pages, so I didn't think it was going to be 4 hours, you know. But then again, I started thinking, well, there's 150 scenes in the script. Again, we lost a few of them because of the pandemic, but there's 150 scenes. If every scene is a minimum 2 minutes, that's 5 hours. So the fact that it's 4 hours means that, you know, this is moving at quite a clip for something that takes place in Twin Peaks. So, anyway, so some of the effects, particularly in Act 4, Act 5, we had the Black Lodge sequence. We had the and there was a bunch of stuff in Act 5 that we needed to do. So we had more or less the first 2 hours done, but we had a lot of other work to do in 4 and 5. So I kind of floated the idea to Ben, who was doing the effects, and Maddie. I said, what do you think about this idea of breaking the film up into parts? And we had talked about that before, but we kept thinking, yeah, but the film like builds and builds and builds, and just to cut it would be to like maybe kill the actual viewing momentum of it. And we didn't want that to happen. So, but I started figuring out like, well, if we stopped it here, if we stopped it with after she encounters Mr. C in the hospital, if we stop it after Dean proposes the tulpa, if we stop it after right before she goes to the Black Lodge, those are good little oh my kind of somewhat cliffhanger type of things. Plus, it would allow us to focus on each individual section to the best of our ability, put it out there. Any adjustments we need to make, we just put it for the full version, and then that's just kind of the way we went. And I'm so glad we did, because, it's kind of like season 3 of Twin Peaks to me. It's like, if they had just dropped the whole thing like on Netflix over one weekend, nobody would talk about it. People would have analyzed it, sure, but it would have been like, you would have just rushed through it that whole weekend and been like, well, that was interesting, or I didn't like that, or whatever. And that would have been almost it. But breaking it up allows people to kind of watch it a few times. And I also thought that because these are new actors playing characters we know, that if you saw each act a few times, it would help digest the new faces. And so by the time you got a new act, you had already bought into the fact that Nico's playing Cooper, Maddie's playing Annie, and you wouldn't be sitting there the whole time going, okay, I'm still trying to figure out, Kyle and Heather Graham. And, by the time you get to Act 3, you've already bought into them as those characters.
Yeah, totally. And I wanted to say, I don't think this was my idea. I didn't influence Cameron on this at all. However, I liked how it ended up being released that way. It's cool that the full version is coming, but I was super excited when you said I'm doing in acts, because one, everything you just said, yeah, it works better as a release thing, anticipation and whatnot. But do you remember at the very beginning, you had sent me the script before you'd started shooting, and I read the script and I'm like, oh my God, dude, this thing is like huge. Like, how are you going to pull this off? Blah, blah, blah. And if you remember, I suggested I was like, why don't you take like, I didn't say act, but like the first part or
right,
whatever, or kind of like carve it into something and make it like an episode. If you can't deliver your full movie, like you still want to give the crowdfunders something.
right.
So I was like, package it like, just do the first half hour or something and package it like, an old episode, like a season 2 episode, or if season 3 had got picked up back then, whatever. So it's just cool, because I feel like I got what I wanted. I got like I got episodes where I could watch it weekly. I mean, it was not weekly, but I could watch it in segments, and I think that worked out.
I think it's the best of both worlds, because you can watch it in acts or you can watch it as one film. I will say that there are minor corrections that have been made along the way, so the full film will have those corrections implemented. But for the most part, like I'm thrilled. I'm so happy with the reaction people have had with this thing. I mean, this is what I was hoping for, and I think when people see it, they understand the intention behind it. This isn't me going, well, I didn't like season 3, so I'm gonna do my own version of this and that. It's like, no, this is like, if you like the books, if you like season 3, if you like season 2, there is sort of a almost two different people in the Twin Peaks community, where it's like they're either all Lynch, or they like it all. But a lot of times the people who are all Lynch really kind of throw Mark Frost under the bus a lot, or they acknowledge him a few days of the year, but for the most part, it's like Lynch is Twin Peaks. And I really wanted to show you that you didn't have to choose one or the other, or that the books, while they may seem different, if you watch Queen of Hearts, I've integrated them so that it all does feel like a piece. Like the final dossier does fit into the world. You know.
Yeah, and the other thing that I actually have some more stuff I got to ask you, but speaking of all that, it's great that the integrating the books and some of the expanded universe and stuff, like I don't think that it didn't hurt anything. Like usually sometimes people interject like fan films or whatever, and like you don't have to know every single thing about the secret history to understand what's going on. Like, and you don't have to you don't have to know everything that happened in the Scott Frost Cooper book.
Mm-hmm.
But it's cool that those like little nuggets or Easter eggs or whatever, they're in there. You
like
know what I mean?
Like when he talks when he talks to
yeah.
Caroline about Marie, right? That's a huge thing in the Scott Frost book. Huge. So I wanted to acknowledge that. Also, there's that moment that happens in Act 5 with Annie visiting Cooper as a little boy, right? Well, that actually is in the Scott Frost book. Now, it's not Annie Blackburn, but it is a character named Annie who visits, who sits there while Cooper's a little boy eating his lunch, doesn't say anything until she gets up and he asks who she is, and she says, "My name is Annie." And she walks away and he says, "I never saw her again." Now, it's not Annie Blackburn, okay? But I was like, wouldn't that be really cool if it was?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just made it that. Plus it just made sense. If we're gonna have her hanging out with Laura as a little kid and Cooper as a little kid, then like, you know, it kind of ties it all together when they all meet.
Yeah, it's great. The other thing I wanted to do, whatever. Anyway, real quick, speaking of the overture, if you can see this, I thought that was pretty classy, especially since you're diving into the whole, you know, you kind of know this is going to be epic. I just wanted to ask, you know, like as a filmmaker, what do you think about overtures in general? Why did you include it? And, you know, let people know what that's all about.
So one of the last days of doing ADR, Maddie says to me, "So I have this song and, you know, you're welcome to use it or not use it, but I just wanted to let you know that if you want to use it, you know, here's a song." And, you know, before I even heard it, I was like, well, I'd like to incorporate it because obviously, you know, Maddie like really came through in so many amazing ways. But as you know from the film, it's very music specific, right? Like everything is like shot to the music. So I was like, okay, well, I don't know where this is going to go. And I thought, well, maybe it will be on the donors thing at the end or whatever. And I listened to it and I liked it, but then I listened to it again and again. And I was like, wouldn't it be really cool to like do, you know, especially since it looked like this thing was going to be big. Wouldn't it be really cool to kind of do what they used to do for those like, you know, roadshow films and like do an overture. The only thing that's different is that we don't have an intermission. You know, I thought that putting an intermission in the middle of the film would kind of kill the momentum of it. But you get the intermissions anyway with the act breaks.
Act breaks, yeah.
So I wanted to have her song kind of up front, and I thought it'd be really cool if we could do the Wars Overture in the Twin Peaks writing it with the two little pieces, because that's how they used to advertise in the TV guide when it was a Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
And then they have the little mountains and stuff, and I thought that would be really, really cool and really fun, and it's a beautiful song. And then while I was editing it, I was like, let's take some extra footage of her in the hospital and kind of do like sort of like not really a music video, but some sort of a, you know, video with the music laying over it. And, you know, it's a beautiful song, and people, you know, she's now coming out with all these singles with her dad. They did this, you know, and people really love her music. I mean, she's got an astounding voice.
Yeah, I agree.
And when she busts out into that sycamore trees in the hospital to Major Briggs, it's pretty haunting.
Yeah, I agree. Just real quick while we're still kind of in the But I love the intro. This whole opening sequence is great. The
just pause it right there. So in the show, in the season 2 show finale, this is the mark she has when she comes out of the Black Lodge.
Yeah.
But in Fire Walk with Me, the blood is on again. It's down the other side. So I wanted to account for that. You know, again, it's like Lynch's whole thing with Fire Walk with Me is to flip everything, right? Like I've said before, Chester Desmond becomes Dale Cooper. It's CD, DC, everything's flipped. The picture of Laura in the school is the one that's at the Palmer House, and the one at the Palmer House is the one that's supposed to be at the school. It's like everything's flipped all around. So I wanted to acknowledge all these quote unquote inconsistencies, but put them in a way that would make, I know this is antithetical to David Lynch and Twin Peaks in general, but in a logical way, like where you could understand, you know, she has one mark because she, you know, the doppelganger pulled her out of the lodge. But then like when Caroline, the Black Lodge, starts like pressing on her internal wounds, that's what makes Annie's like nose start to bleed. And then that creates the other mark. Or wound, I should say. But yes, her on the stretcher is quite fun.
Yeah, this is good stuff. I'm a big fan of this opening and the music and the credits and all of that. It just to be honest, this is the most important part of the entire film, because this 5 minutes is going to make it whether you watch this film or not watch this film. And so I knew that like you had to begin it, not slowly, but begin it in a way where it's like, it's quiet, you know, as they're kind of, you know, you see Sheriff Truman with the doppelganger, not knowing it's the doppelganger. There's Annie's being brought on the stretcher. But instead of going to the hospital room with Cooper and the sheriff and Doc Hayward, we're going to the hospital with Annie Blackburn. We're going the other way. And I think it's very exciting. I know a lot of people got really happy when they watched this and they realized, oh my God, it's beginning right at the end of Act 2. I'm sorry, season 2. Yeah, season 2. Yeah, this is great. The other thing, before I'm going to jump acts here soon, but just want to show people a clip of this real quick. Major Briggs seems to be a fan favorite based on a lot of comments and stuff. And
another character or actor replacement. The actor we had for Major Briggs pulled out, I think, 3 weeks before we had to shoot this scene. And Larry, who plays Major Briggs here, was originally scheduled to play Annie's stepdad. And he said, you know, that's like a little part and I like it. I'm happy to do it. But can I try out for this other part? Now, keep in mind, Larry has a full set of hair, you know, goatee, you're right. And really like wonderful, nice guy. Looks nothing like Major Briggs. But then Maddie got a hold of him, shaved his hair off, and he shaved, and we got him in the, you know, we had the outfit, right? And we got him in the suit. And when he comes around the curtain in that long shot, it's very much like, oh my God, it's Major Briggs, because he had the same stature, the same sense of self-worth, you know?
Yeah. Gravitas.
Yes.
And the other thing that I mean, again, not just me, but everybody seems to, the final scene with the doppelganger shows up.
Right.
Where is it? I had a freeze frame of it. Yeah, when Annie first wakes up, I don't know if you can see it or not. So his eyes are glowing.
Yeah.
Was that did you do that with the light, or did you guys add that?
No, it's the light coming from the window.
Oh man. Yeah,
I referred to him in the editing room as the T1000.
Yeah, I don't think, because he's in the upper right hand corner, but
yeah.
Anyway, I just noticed that today because I was watching it on my big screen in the living room, and I went, "Holy crap! His eyes are glowing. That is awesome!" And I was like, "Oh, I'm sure they just went in there and like lit those up a little bit." And then I was like, "Nah, maybe."
No, because he turned his head. He turned his head at a certain moment for something like that, and it just caught the glimmer of it. And I thought that is awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
That's what's called a happy accident. So I definitely use that take. But yeah, I know that doppelganger scene was, you know, it's important because you have to understand why Annie would want to run. Because she's a sitting duck in there. You know, he knows where she is, and what's she gonna do? Just sit there in bed and wait for him to show up and kill her? So yeah, she's got to get out of there.
Yeah, that's a great scene, and
that's another change from the original script, not the one I wrote now, but like
yeah, of course, because you got to work in Mr. C and all that.
Right. The original story had her going back and staying with Cooper in his room at the hotel. And then over the next few days, she would start to realize that this isn't quite the guy that she fell for. And then they would probably have a conversation similar to what we have here, and she would leave, right? But because Mark Frost's book, The Final Dossier, had set it up, the fact that they said that she was talkative the first day she was in the hospital, then she went completely quiet. I said, okay, well, we're going to have to just move things a little faster here. So we're going to have Norma come in. We're going to have her touch base with Major Briggs, and we're going to have to do the whole doppelganger scene at the hospital, which of course made sense. The fact that because he went to the hospital, and there's that whole Audrey episode. Right. So instead of her confronting him about Audrey in the hotel room, she would confront him in the hospital and basically send him off to go do what he's going to do to Audrey.
Yeah. That
is a shot that I got actually in Washington State. Isn't that insanely gorgeous? That is no That's no filter. That is what the night sky looked like.
Yeah, it's incredible. I was just gonna say, so you end Act 1 with the doppelganger confronting her in the hospital. Then Act 2, as far as Nico he shows up he's in Act 1. At Nico as Dale Cooper. So, and I also like how you did I don't know what this is called, slow reveal, where it's like I was talking about RoboCop. You know, the RoboCop story is Rob Bottin made the suit, and he'll walk out with the suit, and they were like, "Hey man, if you just kind of cut to this, it's not gonna work. Like you need to build this up. So you got the scene with the arm and the scene with him coming to get. So it's a 5 to 10 minute walk up to the RoboCop suit reveal, and I don't know if you did this on purpose, but it worked well with Dale because you see the tape recorder, right? You see the tape recorder, and then he says Diane, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. And then he's getting out of bed, and you see his back, and he's got the blue pajamas, and it's like it's not 5 minutes, it's not super drawn out, but it's like you are already constructing a new Cooper in your mind, and then he comes in, and he's got the mannerisms and all of that stuff.
The first time we show his face fully is when he comes around the corner and meets Wyndham Earle.
Yeah, right.
And that was completely done on purpose because let's be honest here, Kyle MacLachlan is Agent Cooper. And if I had just showed Nico get out of bed, he'll be like, okay, I guess this is the new guy playing Cooper. But I wanted you to kind of buy into him so that when you revealed, you were already sold on this is Cooper of this film.
So I think it works, but for me, this is the quintessential. I know it's weird because it's Caroline too. It's her introduction too, but this scene sold me on both of them.
It's funny
when he comes walking around the corner and knocks on the door and starts talking to her.
Right.
Maybe it's because I already saw Act 1, whatever. But this is when I was like, this is Dale Cooper for sure. And then you get to know Caroline, and again, you don't have any. She's not as hard to get into because there's no pretext for her. You basically have created your own character here, pretty much, right? So,
no offense, but there was no character.
No, there's nothing there. It's just I used to know this woman and I fell in love with her, and then she died. It was an idolized perception of her as someone would do to someone they loved that died. So my idea was, okay, she has to reflect the fact that she's been married to Wyndham Earle for 10 years. What would that look like? She's going to be a little off her rocker.
Yeah, or she's always eccentric, but he just made it worse, you know.
Oh well, yeah.
But you'll
Totally.
also notice in the film that she's very animated around Wyndham Earl, but when she's alone with Cooper, like, you know, she's still eccentric, but she's much toned down. She's not running around and stomping on stairs and things like that, you know.
Yeah, it's almost like his you know, madness or manic state is kind of like infectious.
Yeah,
You know?
or she's playing a role, you know, to make there's little storytelling tidbit here. There's only one moment in this entire film where you see Earl and Caroline talk to each other without Cooper, and that's the beat in the hospital before he comes in, and that was
Yeah.
to show you, because some people, you know, I was worried that maybe people would think that this was just some sort of like foreplay game between Caroline and Wyndham, like let's just screw with the new guy, you know. So I wanted to have at least have one moment in there where you realize that there was some genuine tension between Caroline and Wyndham, that this wasn't just an act for, you know, to just screw with the new guy.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I could jump back, I guess, but the dinner scene,
Yeah.
The dinner scene itself is another fan favorite. We can just show a clip.
Well, let's just be honest here. Dinner scenes are a hallmark of David Lynch or Twin Peaks. I mean, you look at James and Donna, you look at Fire Walk with Me, you look at, you know, Ben and Jerry, or when Jerry comes in with the loaves of bread and stuff like that. Dinner scenes are a big thing of Twin Peaks. And I thought, what would be something that people would find unexpected? How about Cooper, Wyndham Earl, and Caroline at dinner? What would that look like? You know.
Yeah.
Plus this whole idea of them doing Christmas gifts at the dinner table. It's just outrageous.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty weird. I wasn't expecting that at all.
And you read the script even before you even saw the film. So, but wouldn't you say though that when you first read the script, because I had this not entirely, but a few people, when they read that scene between Cooper and Caroline at the door, I had some people say, this is either gonna alienate people or it's gonna bring people in. And I thought, well, at its worst, it would be, you know, the bellhop going, I heard about you, you know, with her slamming the door, you know, a few times. But but it's so charming and endearing that it doesn't like grate on your nerves. It's just quite
no. And it's good for, like, gives her some personality, like right out of the gate. As soon as she opens the door, you're just like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, you could have very easily just knocks on the door opens, it's Wyndham Earl. Oh, hey, what's up? And come on inside. This is my wife Caroline, and she smiles and says hi. You know, but like that doesn't do anything for anybody. But the way you have it, it's like whether you like that or not, or think it's funny or weird or whatever, like it like instantly shot in the heart, injected personality.
Well, it's also the fact that we know where this is heading, right? We know that Cooper and Caroline are going to be together. So wouldn't it be just kind of fun? Just the first thing she says to him is "nah," and slam the door in his face.
Right. Exactly.
And I also like this idea of Wyndham Earl. You know, instead of him being the, you know, eccentric guy in the you know, wearing the suit for 3 weeks in the, you know, in the log cabin, he's a guy in like, you know, a 2-year-old sweater. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Right? Like these people had lives before the Black Lodge destroyed everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and this is Wyndham Earl's chess set from the second season.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite scenes. So I wanted you to tell the chess set story. No, because it's a big part in the script. I knew it right out of the gate. You had messaged me, you know, months later, and we were talking, and I think you just straight up sent me a picture, like, I finally got it. And because you found this like way early.
Yes. Well, I had just assumed they were playing chess. Okay. And then there's that moment where Leo walks into the log cabin and meets Wyndham Earl and all that. But on the table were these chess pieces, these King Arthur marble chess pieces. Now I understand that is later in time, and you know, he probably got another set some other time. But I really love the idea of bringing in the King Arthur stuff with the pieces. So I just said, well, let me look for them, and I found them, and I still have. I'm never giving those up.
Yeah,
like I might sell some other things, but the Wyndham Earl chessboard pieces and Cooper's recorder will always be in my collection, because those were hard to find.
Yeah, that chess set's great,
and it's not cheap either. Those things were $300 for those pieces.
Right. I was like,
but I knew they were going to be playing chess through the entire film, so I felt like it was an investment worth making.
Yeah, and the whole King Arthur thing, you know, people that don't know, that kind of comes into play as well. That's a minor Twin Peaks thing. The whole Glastonbury Grove, and
well, even in season 3, the streets are all Rancho Rosa are all King Arthur inspired.
Oh, right. Yeah. So
bringing in King Arthur, bringing in Vertigo, bringing in a lot of other elements into the, again, bringing the books in, bringing the film in, bringing the series. One comment today, which I was very happy with, they said, thank you for bringing it all together under one roof. And I was like, well, yeah, because it's supposed to be all one world. It's not supposed to feel like the books are over here, seasons are over here, the returns over here. It's supposed to be one big world. I know it doesn't feel that way all the time, but I wanted this film to reflect the fact that it is under all one umbrella. You just have to look at it.
I love that bowling shot, by the way.
Oh yeah,
he hits that spare.
It's another thing of what. Okay, someone tells you they're going to make a film dealing with Cooper, Wyndham Earl, and Caroline. Never in a million years are you going to say to yourself, "There's going to be a bowling scene," right?
Right.
And so I just wanted to have this moment of I said, well, in the script it says they're all hanging out together and they're having fun together. Well, what does that mean? What are they doing? Are they playing Twister? What are they doing? No, they're hanging out together and they're getting to know each other. And yeah, so
yeah, I love the montage. And then this scene, you sent me a screen grab of this.
Mm-hmm.
This might have been the first moment where I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, this looks great. But with the montage,
but even just looking
at the Cat Stevens song. Sorry, I don't have the audio.
Yeah, it is. Okay, but looking at this image, if you are a Twin Peaks fan, that is Cooper and Caroline. You just look at them and you go, yeah, that's Cooper and Caroline.
Yeah, totally.
And this is the same, this is the same aquarium that they shot Star Trek 4 in.
Yeah, which that's super cool.
Well, because I was like, well, we didn't have any aquarium stuff, written in the script, but I was thinking again, what are they going to be doing together, And my wife and I and my kid, we went to the aquarium, and I was like, because it's down the street, and I was like, oh, this would be fun to do, but it's an aquarium, and so I Googled Pittsburgh aquarium, and they said, yes, there's an aquarium in Pittsburgh. And I said, I don't want to see the images. I just want to know. Yes, there's an aquarium in Pittsburgh. Off we go. So I thought we got to get them out of the house because there's so many scenes of them at the house. And I was like,
yeah, we
got to have them doing stuff, bowling. There's lots of stuff I shot that didn't make it into the film just because it's, just didn't fit. But, they go to lunch, they're at the aquarium, it's just, it's that montage you see in a lot of films that just makes you feel good. Everyone's getting along because you know that things are going to get really bad.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Everything's going to go horribly, horribly wrong.
This is California. This shot. This is California. This is not Washington. Yeah. So this is about 20 minutes from my house.
That's great. I love this shot.
This company that I know some people who work for, they have a private land, and I said, well, I need to shoot some stuff of Cooper, looking for Wyndham Earl and stuff like that. And they said, well, you can use our land. And I said, well, let me just go look at it. And I saw and I said, well, it's supposed to be Pittsburgh, but at the same time, though, I wanted to kind of evoke the fact that well, why would Gordon Cole send Cooper to Washington State? Yes, obviously he's close, But at the same time, though, I wanted to kind of give the feeling like, well, Gordon trusts him around this type of area.
Yeah. I love this whole, I mean, that shot's great. And then the whole Earl disappearance thing is great.
Yeah. Well, that was something that came out of because obviously we know the ending of the story of Carolina, Wyndham, Earl, and Cooper. But just the day-to-day, like, what was that going to be? I pretty much used the Scott Frost book as sort of a guide. There's a lot of little things obviously I didn't use, but there's like at one point Cooper goes to like Haiti or something like that for like 6 months. Like,
right.
Don't. I mean, I never say he doesn't go to Haiti, but I don't show him in. I didn't want to have that cocktail moment where all of a sudden Kokomo comes on the soundtrack and we're off in Haiti or something. But in the book it says Wyndham Earl disappears for a few days, comes back, doesn't really know where he is, and then Caroline disappears and all that, and then they find her as she was a prostitute, and I was like, that has to be in the story because it's just so cool, it's just so interesting. So and it gives the actors range, something to do. And then sweet Caroline, which is like, this is like so over the top, but I was like, you know what? We're in Cooper's head.
Yeah, you just got to go for it.
Sometimes you got to swing for the fences, and you know what? Everybody likes it because it's just because we understand, because everybody is in love with Caroline.
It's one of those. I heard the intro to the song in the hallway shot before.
Yeah.
Maybe okay. You told me that all of the song choices were in the script.
That one wasn't.
Okay, well that makes sense because I didn't remember any of these songs. I remember almost everything that happened in the movie, everything that happened in the script. Right. I totally remember, but I didn't remember the song choices. And this one, I was like, yeah, go ahead.
So here's what happened. Gordon comes in and says, Caroline's here to see you. Okay, so he doesn't want obviously the office to see her there. So Gordon brings Cooper out to what it was supposed to be like, like the back staircase, like where the smoker, you go out the smoker's exit, whatever like that, the back of the building. There would be like this little, like the area right before the door. And Gordon was going to usher Caroline in and, into like the back area away from everybody. And Cooper's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, oh, I want to see you. And it was the same dialogue, but we couldn't find that location. And I thought, what an easy location to find. And we couldn't find it. The ones that I was thinking that we would use had completely revamped and changed their whole building structure. So I was like, okay, well, we can't do that. And so a friend of mine and also someone who worked on the film as an actor said, well, my business, that I work for is closed on the weekend and you can use that. And I said, okay, but I kind of need a hallway. And they said, oh yeah, you got a hallway. So we get to this room, this area, this office building, and there's this hallway. And I'm thinking, Gordon can't just Caroline, come here. And Cooper's got to wait at the other end of the hallway for this long walk. It just would not play. It would feel like, what's going on? And then she'd be like, she finally get there and he'd be like, Caroline, what are you doing here? Like, if you're going to have a long hallway and she's going to be walking down it, you kind of have to I felt like there needs to be a moment. And since I knew Cooper was going to be happy to kind of see her a little bit, I thought, because Sweet Caroline would never fit in any of the rest of the film because it's just going to go down south real fast, right? So this has to be the moment of like where he completely knows he's head over heels for her. Even to the point where I got a swooshing camera all the way to his face and stuff like that.
I was going to say, that's why I paused it right here because I love this. I love this shot. But
yeah.
So there's a couple of times that I've talked to you and I was just like, oh, that was a good song choice. That was good. And you're like, oh, it's in the script. You read the script. I'm like, damn, I don't remember any of that. But that makes sense. But this shot, waiting for it, the build up, like I was like, before I even heard it, I was like, he's going to do Sweet Caroline. And it's like, dun, dun, dun. I'm like, yep, there we go. But anyway, I love this shot. It just totally works. It's this next shot. Right.
Yeah. That one. Yeah.
Did you just run at him?
I just moved at him. Yeah. It's very. I just wanted to
steady.
there's a couple like Evil Dead Sam Raimi shots in this film.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's another one at the end when Carrie, takes her face off, where it's like it rumbles and it's moving.
Yeah.
Right. I wanted that kind of Evil Dead kind of that moment there, and then I figure she's got this long hallway to walk down. We can't just have it be silent while she's being scurried down. So.
Is this Pacific Northwest too?
Yep. Because this is obviously we're back with Annie in the hospital, so I wanted to have that kind of dawn moment where she's freaked out at this moment, but she's kind of playing catatonic because she's trying to figure things out, when the character of Dean shows up.
Yeah, so I stopped it here.
Yeah.
So I love this character. I love this actor. I know all the problems. COVID created all these issues with the extended Bookhouse Boys.
Right.
So you had to find basically a composite or a lead to represent all the Bookhouse Boys. Right.
Well, these scenes were always there. It was just at a certain point when she leaves with him, when he says he's going to take her to the station, he takes her to the station with Major Briggs and the Bookhouse Boys are there.
Oh, and they're all there. Yeah.
Right.
So he was always kind of the focal point, right?
Right. It's just he just ended up being the only one.
Right. Okay. So
I like this moment too. Where he pulls up the patch and he's like, I probably shouldn't be saying this.
Dang it, I lost it.
This is where he pulls out the tulpa thing and says,
so this is a great ending to the act. Tell the story. The character's name, was he unnamed before?
I didn't have a name. I just knew it was going to be Bookhouse Boy that Annie befriends and becomes romantically involved with by the end of the film. But I didn't have a name. And then there was a donor by the name of Dean who put in a large chunk of money into the film, carried us over. And I thought the name's cool. He is supposed to be sort of like a James Deanish kind of character anyway. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to just name the character after that. And it worked out, Yeah,
it works great. So now you got Dean, who's a Bookhouse Boy with Ed Hurley, and we got Dean Hurley doing the sound for the return.
Yeah. There was one comment the other day that said, "I can't believe Agent Cooper got friend zoned for a Bookhouse Boy."
Yeah.
Oh, but it makes sense if you see the whole film. Obviously, hopefully you've seen the whole film. But if you see the whole film, it makes sense that some people think it's like, oh, what a bold choice not to have Annie end up with Cooper. It's like, I don't know what film you've been watching, but did this film look like it was ever going to end up with Annie and Cooper being together? I don't know. I never got that vibe.
Yeah. I don't want to. So we are doing spoilers, but at the same time, I don't want to completely, ruin it. If we
go ahead, we're talking.
Oh, just basically, yeah. For people that don't know, then Cooper doesn't end up with Annie at the end, and it's a bold choice, and I like it because it's all. After you watch the whole thing, it totally makes sense. I don't know how to describe it.
But do you get the vibe that this thing is building to them hooking up? I never get that.
Vibe. No. I mean, because it just seems like they're separated at the beginning,
right?
And it just feels like even though they flash back and forth, and
right.
This shot's great. I love this whole sequence. It feels like they're on opposite tracks, but they're still connected. And by the time she comes, sorry,
they do meet up. They do meet up at the end. They have a long talk together.
No. Yeah, I get it. But my point is, up until that point, they're in two different stories.
Mm-hmm.
So forget time jumping and all that stuff. Just as an audience member, or I'm watching a movie about two different characters that, I guess it feels like 30 years ago they were a thing, but now they're this is two completely different stories, and it makes sense. I love that she kind of has a crush on Dean, or they like each other, however you want to look at it. Like, I like that it came back to this. I don't know. It just feels more, what is her line at the end? Like, some things that feel right don't always work out or something. And that just makes sense. I mean, forget the, if you're, these characters and, yeah, like you said, they do meet up. There is the scene where they meet up in the lodge, and I know that the end of season 2 is all about Cooper and Annie, but like it doesn't. To me, the final season, the Lynch episode of season 2, the finale, it blows all that up anyway. Like, even if they'd have picked up season 3 right away, like, I don't know if Cooper and Annie would just like get back together after traveling to another dimension and everything going horribly wrong. And then something I was thinking about today, specifically because of this, it's kind of like Mr. C and Freddy at the end of The Return, how people are just like, well, it should have been like a Dale fighting his own doppelganger and not this other stuff. And, it feels kind of Deo ex machina, like someone kind of steps in at the last minute and everything changes. But like, that's what happens with Wyndham Earl. The whole season, the whole last half of the season is building up to Wyndham Earl. And you think that it's going to be, it's Cooper versus Earl. And then they go to this new place and it's like, oh no, Bob just like takes his soul and he's gone. Like, this is way beyond any of y'all's perception. This is not what you think it was. This is not building to what you think it was. Like, this is a nightmare on earth or whatever. And that's the vibe I get from your film, is that you can't just have like a puppy love little thing and then travel to the other ends of the universe and like expect to come back and just be like, oh, hey, remember how we were like dating? You remember how we like hooked up? Like, no, man, they're all changed. They're all different. Everybody's journey. And I mean, she's weaving in and out of time. This is still a 30-year,
She's been to all ends of the universe at that point,
Right.
I mean, she's seen a lot of stuff. And at a certain point in Act 3, she even says to Major Briggs, I don't want him back.
Right.
And I mean, yes, she doesn't know that obviously the good Dale's in the lodge. But even then, it's like, after you've seen him as a little kid growing up and stuff like that, I mean, you become more brother-sister relationship more than romantic relationship. She's almost been a parent to him and Laura in some ways. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah. To me, it's like a high school. It's like a high school thing. It's like, these two kids that were in high school and they were totally in love and crazy about each other. And you thought for sure that they were just going to like get married and live the rest of their lives together. And then you go to the 25-year reunion and you're like, oh, Steve and Susie, they're not together. That's weird. I always thought you guys would be together. And it's like, hey man, life happens. Like, he joined the army and she got a job and went to college and moved to the other side of the country. And like, that's how life works. Like, it's not
also
how you think it's going to be.
She says in the film, I met you the first day I got into town. And then I realized that you're the most popular guy in town. Who would not be smitten about that? And then all of a sudden, like, I'm winning Miss Twin Peaks. It's like a great week. And then you realize it was all horse crap because he was lying to her the entire week that Wyndham Earl's like on the hunt and all this kind of thing. And, I've seen some people say they didn't like that moment in Act 5 when Wyndham Earl's arrested in the diner, right? And because there's the movie's building, right? This whole thing of like Wyndham Earl, he's doing all this stuff and he kills Caroline and he attacks Cooper and all this stuff. But then, he gets sent away to the mental institution, right? As Gordon Cole says. And then of course we find out in season 2 that he breaks out of the institution. But it was never building up to a mano-a-mano of Wyndham Earl versus Cooper. It was the idea of that, like, one thing that's always been said is like, if a serial killer, again, has like a momentum going on, if it's like Son of Sam, right? All of a sudden, like, his parking ticket is what does him in. It's, it's just some random weird thing. So it's like, here's Wyndham Earl building himself up. I'm going to get Agent Cooper. And then Annie just goes like, Cooper, he's over there. So he's like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like, I had this in my head that I was going to come back for this huge redemptive arc of killing you in front of this whole town and for the Black Lodge, and I'm arrested dressed up as a biker in the diner. Like, because like
Yeah.
it always made me laugh. It always made me laugh how like Cooper in season 2 would walk into the sheriff's station and be going, Wyndham Earl has been in this room. I can feel his presence. But when he first meets Annie, he's directly across from them at the diner dressed up as a biker. And he does that little head move, which Nico does perfectly. But I just thought it'd be really funny if Annie was just like, he's over there.
Yeah. And again, tied into the larger, universe or story or canon or whatever. But like, again, it's kind of like Freddy showing up with the glove.
But
like, it feels like these pieces have been moved here to like,
right.
Okay, Annie's now here, Cooper's now here, and like, oh, okay, we're gonna.
But if she has Wyndham Earl arrested, then that completely frees up the back end of season 2, right? Because there's no Wyndham Earl threat, right? She's not going to run for Miss Twin Peaks, so obviously Lana's going to win it, right? Which is what happens in the Secret History, and then that allows Gordon and Major Briggs and Cooper to discuss that plan that they bring up in season 3. And so that, because the people have said to me, when do they have time to make that plan? It doesn't make any sense because even Cooper, when he enters the Black Lodge, he's not thinking about Judy. They don't even talk about Judy at all, right? Yeah. It's all kind of, done after the fact. But I wanted to have it where if she erased Earl from that part of the timeline of the series, then that would open it up and they'd have 6 episodes to plan. And that's I thought it'd be fun. It just makes it fun for the fans.
Yeah. And again, Twin Peaks has always been this way, and this film makes it even more so. But it's kind of a choose your own adventure at this point. After the return got added, and you've got timelines and memory and outcomes, and like, does this stand alone on its like? My spiel to people is about the return, like it's kind of its own thing, the way Fire Walk with Me is its own thing. Yeah, like the Judy stuff, like that's all retconned. And people are like, well, it's ridiculous. It's like, yeah, except Fire Walk with Me is all retconned, and the novels they're not retconned, but like they're all their own thing. So like not every single thing that's going to happen in the spin-off novel is going to literally bear fruit in the show. And like, Fire Walk with Me, James calling Laura when we know it was Leland from Ben Horn's office, right?
However,
there's continuity errors everywhere.
But let me pause you right there. That always drove me nuts, right? Because it was James, right? And then when she hops on the bike, and in the theatrical cut, it shows Leland looking out the window, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the missing pieces and in the original version of Fire Walk with Me, he comes home as she's waiting in the bushes, right? And he does that long walk up the stairs and all that, right?
Yeah,
so it could have been him at Ben Horn's office because he wasn't home in the real version. And she could have been so drugged out of her mind that she might have heard James's voice instead of her dad's. It's very possible.
It's possible. Occam's razor suggests that Lynch and Ingalls just forgot.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, absolutely. I'm just saying that. Was Laura drugged out of her mind at that point?
Yeah. No. I kid. That's what's great about to me, the most brilliant thing about The Secret History and The Return. And we'll get back to your film in a second. But the greatest thing about that was this whole concept of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of time has passed since the original thing, and so now with The Return, you've got however you want to look at it, time shifting, parallel universes, but it also plays with just memory and how we perceive events. The Secret History plays like pretend you didn't know anything about time changes and whatnot. It plays like documented history is not exactly how you remember it, and everybody's perception of certain events is all different. So the Ed and Norma and Nadine backstory is different in Secret History, right? And but anyway, just back to your film, it does tie all the universes together, but it also leaves room for that choose your own adventure type thing.
Well,
Like
for
you
instance,
can go down different rabbit holes and you can find, like you just said, like, okay, well, Annie was here when this happened, and we'll get to it in a minute, but I love the Fire Walk With Me. Laura wakes up with Annie and then she walks out to the bedroom, and actually Annie is in the staircase right there being like tortured or whatever by the fan, but Laura can't see it because she's kind of in her own reality or her own universe or her own timeline or however you want to look at it. But anyway, that's cool.
Well, like for instance, in the final dossier, it talks about Annie and the whole sitting in the chair and saying "I'm fine" and all that kind of thing. Well,
Yeah.
this is going to probably be the only time in film history where you're going to see this play out, right? And my idea of it is Annie is there in physical form, but her mind and her consciousness are elsewhere, right? And for 25 years or so, she's sitting in this chair where they kind of bring her to like this common room, and they just like park her there. And maybe because Norma is paying them good money with the help of the Double R Diner donors and stuff like that they're able to have her secure away away from other people. But my idea has always been, well, that opens up potential fan stories or other fan films or whatever about adventures that Annie went on because she's not there. I mean, she even tells Cooper, like, I've been all over, doing things. And basically they needed a spot to park her safely. And I'm glad nobody's had a problem yet with the t-shirts, because there's she's wearing the MTV shirt, and then at one point she's wearing the Dunder Mifflin shirt. It was only because I wanted to show you that time was passing by, and so you had to know that the shows were going.
No, I love the MTV shirt. I thought that was great. Okay,
but I just also thought that the donors, the people who were donating clothes to Annie, would want her to feel current, even if she's not there. Do you know what I mean? Well, Friends is popular now, so she needs a Friends shirt. You know what I mean?
Right. Because Norma's picking out T-shirts that are new and cool, so she can pretend to
current,
feel like she's still alive, basically.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, real quick. I love this shot. This is Cameron's Reservoir Dogs shot, everybody. I don't know if that was intentional, but I love it. In Reservoir Dogs, they're in a red brick. It's all the guys in tuxedos. The opening of Reservoir Dogs, they're all walking down the thing. But
I just wanted to look like the back streets of
right. The streets, but I love that. I was like, Reservoir Dogs shot. It's cool. It's cool that whatever. This is probably a different video, but just the language of film and how. I mean, I know that you're a Tarantino fan as much as I am, I guess. I mean, who isn't really? But so, it's like, was this subconscious? Like way down in the back of your mind, you're shooting this and like, oh, this looks cool. And like, well, I didn't know if it was, like you say, it wasn't a Reservoir Dogs.
No, this kind of
an illusion.
No, it wasn't that. This was more of like, when Chet and Sam and like this, to me, just feels early FBI Blue Rose feel. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm wondering if like some of these compare, like, is this me in my mind making this comparison? Like, oh, guys in tuxedos on like kind of the red maroon thing, and they're walking, and then it's kind of that same angle. Like, oh, this reminds me of Reservoir Dogs. Or were you shooting it and like somewhat like deep in your subconscious, you're not even thinking about it at the time, but like maybe deep in your subconscious, you're like, oh, this looks cool, let's do it this way. But you're like, does your subconscious think it's cool because of
it wasn't on my mind. It wasn't on my mind, but I will say that like aesthetically, when you look at it, you go, yeah, this looks good. And maybe because of something like Reservoir Dogs back in the deep of your mind, you might think, well, I know this works. I know this works. It wasn't even in my head, but like you kind of know what's gonna work,
Yeah, and that's what I was telling you when I shot that Twin Peaks, the shooting location stuff.
Yeah.
and you didn't believe me, but like I winged a lot of those shots.
Right.
And I think that I just kind of like frame those up because it's like I've seen the show a bunch. And then there's other times where like I'll draw a picture or do a design or whatever. I remember I did this thing. I was like, this looks great. It was like a title sequence for this video. And like it's got stone and lava and it's this and this, like the flames are like burning the text. And like this looks great. And I can't, and then it was like the next weekend. I'm watching Game of Thrones is on. So I sit down with all my friends, like, oh, the new Game of Thrones is on. And I turn it on. I'm like, oh man, yeah, that's why I thought it was cool. Cause that's the opening title sequence, opening title sequence of my favorite show. And like, I just subconsciously just recreated it. And you're just like, oh man. But sorry, I'm not accusing you of ripping off Reservoir Dogs.
No,
I always thought this show was great.
Listen, if you play it in slow motion, like
I was going to say, back it up. We'll do
that.
Looks
like Reservoir Dogs.
So
I like this moment too, where Cooper's like he's really thinking hard about this move, and he makes a move after all this time, and then Earl just gets him, like doesn't even think about it,
So we're in We're in Act 3 at this point. There was something else I was gonna.
So the scene in with Dean and Annie and Major Briggs in the woods, that's another pandemic moment because we lost the location of the station, which is where all the Bookhouse Boys and stuff were going to be. So I thought, well, how are we going to do this scene? Because we need this moment, their conversation. And I said, well, we can't have the Bookhouse Boys just hanging around in the forest. That would look weird. This isn't Peter Pan. So we're just gonna have it where he's taking you to, and this thing was just set up in the woods, and I was like, that is weird and freaky, and you need to acknowledge that. Right. But anyway, so I wanted to have this moment of them meeting Major Briggs, and I thought, at the end of episode 16, the Tim Hunter one, where it closes out, Major Briggs just standing in the middle of the path in the woods.
In the path, yeah.
And I thought, you know what, we're just gonna go that route, and off we go. And I love Annie just like wearing Dean's PE clothes, which is like,
yeah,
because the girls are always looking beautiful in Twin Peaks. They got the skirts on and the sweaters, and I thought Annie just needs to look like she's just wearing Dean's old PE clothes. And the fact that it's the phys ed department PE, and that is not like a new recreation. That is the original shirt that I had when I was a fan of the show.
I was going to ask you about that. So I love her Twin Peaks PE. I was like, did you have that made? But it looks pretty retro. That's great.
No, it's and it's been beat up in my closet for years, so it looked like an old PE shirt.
Oh man, yeah, that's amazing. But yeah, this shot right here, totally allusion to the Tim Hunter episode, the post Bob death, whatever.
So we had him wear the hat here because the pandemic had happened, so his hair started to grow back, and he didn't want to shave his head again. and it made sense that he'd be wearing his hat outside anyway. So
yeah, oh totally. Yeah. So this is the other kind of last Major Briggs. This is the last scene he's in, right?
No, he shows up at the diner.
Oh, what? Yeah.
But this is the moment where I've seen a lot of people go, "Oh, that's where this is going."
Yeah. This is definitely. I think that opening scene with the hospital, like really sold this character. But this is the scene where it's like, okay, yeah, like now this is where the story's heading, and Briggs is still kind of stealing the scene. Not stealing the scene, but he's definitely got his gravitas. He's definitely. He's rooting the whole problem. He's defining the whole, this is, if you were to smash this all into a movie, this is kind of your beginning of Act 2, like defining the problem. I mean, they got the Cooper story as a parallel. That's a different problem. But this is kind of like Annie's. Well, the mission is being defined here at this point.
Yeah, they need her because she's been in the lodge. She's been, touched by the devilish wood and all that stuff. Yeah. And she's their best chance because apart from her and Briggs, nobody else has gone into the lodge and come out unscathed. They have to send her because otherwise, as they say, if Major Briggs just shows up in Laura Palmer's bed, that's going to be very awkward and weird.
Yeah, she's gonna freak out.
Right.
But yeah, this whole encounter is great.
Yeah, that woods location is beautiful, isn't it?
The woods is great, and then it also, this is more of Annie really carving out her own character. I mean, Matt, you writing and Maddie as the actress, like really carving out Annie. This is when Annie becomes the Annie she needs to be for the rest of the.
She's.
I mean, so I don't mean anything's.
No, but she
not
says to
necessarily
Cooper,
like major character arc, but like this is when she's just like, no means no. I don't want to do this. Like, you guys don't know what it's like. It's like it's more backstory, but it's more her personal feelings, and like this is the conflict. This is what her, in my opinion, this scene is what it's all about.
well, she says to Cooper in the at the bar when they're hanging out at the hotel, she says, I'm extremely stubborn. And Cooper goes, I can handle that. Well, she's also trying to be, she's the new girl in town. She's trying to be nice. And, this is the real Annie Blackburn, as far as I'm aware. Like, concerned,
Right.
like this is the one who doesn't give AF. You know what I mean? This is the whole illusion of Cooper, the whole romance thing that Miss Twin Peaks is done. This is who she is. And she ain't playing.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love this shot.
Yeah.
This reminds me of Wild at Heart. This reminds me of Isabella Rossellini on, I can't remember her character's name.
Oh, Parody to Durango.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Wait, what's Grace Zabrisky's character's name?
That's Juana.
Juana. Yeah. So I'm not going to look up the shot, but you know what I'm talking about, right? They roll up on a cabin or a house, and isn't she wearing a leopard print too? Maybe.
Yeah, she is.
I don't know. Whatever. You guys can go look it up. This shot specifically was kind of went like, I went like, oh, cool. So I didn't know if that was an homage or just happened to.
No, I asked Charlotte, I said, can you find something that makes you look like a prostitute? And she said, I think I have some choices. So she brought some choices, and I said, yeah, let's go with that. And then this area is gone now, but there was a whole like abandoned house structure around here, and I was like, I said, this is where we're gonna shoot the kind of the crack house type of thing, and so that's where we shot. Now it's all torn down. You can't even get in that area anymore.
Probably a good thing, right?
Probably.
I'm joking. Whatever. But yeah, this sequence is pretty creepy, and yeah.
I just love the idea that, sorry, but I'm not trying to toot my own horn or something, but I like just this whole thing playing out as a long shot, because we're not quite sure what's going on. This was all, I never shot any close-ups or anything. Like, it was always meant to be just this long shot. And so originally in the script, they take her to an interrogation room, at the local police station, and then they get called in. But interrogation rooms don't look like interrogation rooms like in the Hill Street Blues days, where it's like all stone, and the stone, they don't exist anymore. And so we were like, well, where the heck are we going to do this? And I thought, why don't we just have it where they ran her wedding ring and they realize, oh, she's married to this guy who's, so as sort of an internal, thing, we'll let you guys know on the down low. And I thought, let's do, we can do the handoff at a cheap motel, which I love the little lamp behind her, because it looks very David Lynch-esque. So this was the motel we shot. We didn't do anything to the interior of this place. This was the interior of the motel. And like when Wyndham comes over, like that little lamp is like, it's so Inland Empire,
Yeah. Oh, and the pink wall. I love that.
Yeah. So we just happened to find the perfect spot.
Yeah, that's great. There's another scene I wanted to. Oh, actually, this act is all great Annie stuff.
Yeah. So this scene,
yeah, go ahead. No,
So
go
this
ahead.
was the big audition scene that we would do with the actresses for Annie. The problem was that by the time we got around to doing this is the week that we had available to us during the pandemic, and we really didn't have. I mean, we had the dean's apartment, but at the same time, though, like we had to shoot it in an area that didn't have any like modern appliances, so we ended up having to shoot this in the kitchen. But the problem was there was nothing on the walls, so it just became white wall against white wall, and then also there wasn't very much stuff in the room, so it became this kind of like echo. And then the refrigerator kicked on halfway through the scene, and so we had to record sound of the refrigerator independently and then lay it under the whole track. So one reviewer, the Sofia Marco guys, they said, well, this looks like an audition scene that was stuck into the middle of the movie. But I understand that, but at the same time, though, because it's the only scene that plays like this in the film, I'm okay with it, but
Yeah.
I thought it was going to originally be a little more visually dynamic, but at the same time, though, the fact that he does cross over and sit down with her allows you to know that they didn't shoot the scene separate, So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. And then the other thing, you got another great.
Yeah.
I love this montage scene. This is pretty great. And so again, getting into spoilers, like I love the concept of her having this plan all laid out and she knows what she's supposed to say. She knows what she's supposed to say when she meets Laura and all that stuff. But by the time she gets there, that is not. Oh, did I skip it already? Because this cuts back and forth between
right
Caroline.
I think it's coming up right now. The next right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that.
So I've been with Major Briggs, contact him at Bobby's and tell him about your dream. So when she comes up from being with Bobby in the basement, and she sees Major Briggs sitting in the living room with the wife and Fire Walk with Me and the missing pieces, that's when she's supposed to contact Major Briggs. She's supposed to talk to her then. But obviously Annie wasn't prepared to be confronted with the idea that Agent Cooper is still good in the Black Lodge, and that completely changes the whole story. And also Major Briggs is dead at this point.
Right.
So she doesn't, even though it is a time travel thing, she's not equating it because Major Briggs in her mind is dead.
Gotcha. All right. Sorry. So queuing up something.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Here she is.
Yeah. So Act 4
took a long time.
Took a long time. I bet. Act 4 is when we really get into we finally get into Black Lodge, and this is kind of this is when Annie kind of confronts her past, so to speak, or they're making her relive her worst day ever,
right?
Life-changing event. So this, oh God, it's been a minute, but so this is you basically wrote what her backstory was in season 2, and then this is a final dossier. This is when they bring in. So when Frost brought in the stepfather and the
right. So it was like, okay, well, do we go with the boyfriend story or we do with the stepdad story? And I thought, you know what? This is supposed to be the Black Lodge recreation of the worst day of your life. Let's make it truly the worst day of your life. Let's have it be everything. Let's have the mom throw her out, which of course, Vivian is, her being the MT Wentz and not really caring what Norma thinks and all that kind of thing. She's a witch unto herself, right? Yeah. And so let's just go for it. That's actually Laura Palmer's phone that she has on her. So they both share the same phone. Anyway, and like the Black Lodge, dresses Annie up as like literally this bathrobe, this gaudy bathrobe of like all hearts and stuff like this is, it's really just kind of messing with her. And and then when Annie's standing at the door after her mom throws her out of the house, you hear the tires screech in the distance. And that's because the stepdad took off, the mom raced after him and drove him off a cliff, apparently in the final dossier.
Right.
Which I think
what
was a
did
Wild
I,
at Heart reference.
oh yeah, interesting.
The fact that
Um,
Lula's dad went off. No. It was who was it? Somebody like remember the car goes over the cliff and explodes. It's not Santos, obviously. It's the dad
that's
was
the.
the dad died in the fire in the house. But who? Oh, Uncle Pooch.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was it.
I was gonna say it's the the Guns N' Roses "Don't Cry" video.
Right. So we have
Watching
two situations here where when Emerald gives Caroline the floral dress, and here it's the stepdad that gave Annie the floral dress.
Yeah, yeah. This is man. This whole sequence. I mean, it's
A
almost the
lot.
full act.
Yeah, most people are very surprised by this, and I was kind of, I guess I was surprised by their reaction because I was thinking, well, how do we tell the story of Annie Blackbird and not get into this?
No, I mean, were they surprised that it went this far? That you pushed the emotional.
I don't know. I think they were just surprised the fact that it was just a complete mind bender that it went into this sort of like It's a Wonderful Life type of moment here.
Yeah,
and also the final dossier says that this all happened at Christmas, so we made sure we had the tree up and everything. So, and then when she walks in at night and she sees the tree all lit up and stuff like that.
Oh right, and the crazy thing is that the whole back and forth with like the boyfriend is like you think he's gonna be kind of a creep, and then he turns out to be okay. You know, but then no, hard left, like he's a total jerk. And
we also have her in the scene talk about the fact that they spent the night in Owl Cave.
Yeah.
And so when she tells Cooper, like, well, yeah, those are the signals inside Owl Cave.
She would know.
The idea is that if you were stuck sleeping in a cave all night with your, douchebag boyfriend, you might be like looking at the walls a lot. Yeah. And noticing everything. So
yeah, that's this whole. I'm glad you put that whole sequence in there.
And I love the t-shirt, boxers, and the socks. That's like
I was gonna say that's a nice touch. I like that too.
That's definitely Agent Cooper. And then obviously, I just come on. How can you not do this as like an operatic moment?
Oh yeah. The music's great in here too. And this is after. Oh yeah, this whole sequence.
So when she looks, the phone's there. She throws the phone, and then she looks over, and then there's the knife waiting for her. The Black Lodge is just like, here you go. Like she's not looking for it; it's waiting for her there.
Yeah, that's funny. The first time I saw it, I was like, well, that's convenient. There's a letter opener or a knife right there. And it's like, oh yeah, because this is the Black Lodge. So this is
and I also made it so that when she's at the hotel with her boyfriend, it says Gateway Lodge Motel. To let you know that like she's still there. She's in the lodge is bigger than what we know.
Right.
I mean, they call it the waiting room, right? Well, what's past that?
Right.
And there's that moment in season 3 where Cooper opens the curtain and he sees Mr. C driving on the road. So, I mean, there are like curtains that lead you places if you want to go places. You had to have this moment with the.
I was gonna say, you and I have talked about this, and I'm totally okay with the nuns in the lodge. This is to me, this is just an extension of everything that's already happened to her. This is an abstracted view of joining the convent and all that.
One, we have angels in Fire Walk with Me. Okay, so Lynch has already introduced Catholicism into the lodge. Second of all, everybody's lodge experience is different. So maybe Agent Cooper isn't going to see nuns, but Annie would, because that's her past.
Right. And then the other thing I made a note about, so my comment earlier about Briggs on the road is kind of defining the problem. Mm-hmm. And so now, in my opinion, this is in a traditional movie, this would be the bottom of the second act, mm-hmm. where they're at their lowest point.
Right.
So now it's like, so the problem's been defined, and now everybody's at the lowest point. So Caroline's been killed, Cooper's a mess, Annie's in the lodge reliving her suicide attempt and the whole thing, right?
It's Wendell Earl's greatest moment.
Yeah, exactly. The bad guy has triumphed, or seemingly triumphs, so to speak.
Well, so, I love the idea of her seeing Wyndham Earl bring her into the lodge from season 2, because we don't see that. We see them go step into the curtains, but we don't see him leading her through the lodge, and I like that moment.
Yeah, me too. And that little popping her head to the other side, and it's all quiet. I love that. That's one of those little things. So, that's one of those little moments, and I suppose I could talk about it later, but I saved it for later. The child actors.
Mm-hmm.
I've been commenting a lot about that. Why did he do that? The ducks, the kids, those little moments that's what really takes this production up a notch, in my opinion. Like it's a bunch of little things, but to me, that's all I mean, obviously writing a script is hard. Obviously all that stuff is hard, but it's adding those little moments that heightens the sense of reality, or heightens the sense of the universe you're trying to create. Back when I was doing like punk music videos and stuff, I met a buddy of mine told me, and I'll never forget, this is, I don't know, whatever, 15 years ago. But he was just like, well, you should have a little, like, I was describing this shot. He's like, well, you should have a little like rat or something like scurry across the front of the thing. I was like, well, why? He's like, and he basically explained the same thing. He's just like, it's the little stuff. It's like, the cat sleeping on the thing in the corner, or it's like a spider crawling up a wall, or it's like basically you went the extra mile and it paid off. With like, you didn't have to have kid actors in the show or in this production. You could have written around it. You could have just not done it, because you know what? Kids, animals, details, small stuff, it's just a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass, and it's time and money. And like, do you really, like, if it was me, I'd been like, do I really need a little kid? Do I really need to spend the afternoon like working with a little kid? Because I mean, it's, I'm just saying.
Well, would you say would you say that the film would be completely different without those two scenes, though? I think so. I think Little Laura and Little Cooper scenes really kick it over the top, because
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I'm thinking as an editor, director myself, who's completely who would be completely stressed out. And if it was me, I'd have been like, okay, I don't know. But you could have rewritten those scenes to, I don't know how you would have done it. I'm just saying, I applaud your attention to detail and adding these little things like the ducks in the pond, and the like. You probably spent the afternoon working with the kid, right, to make sure it was good.
No, I think we got Laura done in an hour, and I think we were done with the kid in 45 minutes.
Oh wow!
Because it was just basically like, I mean, little Laura, she knew the lines. It was just about getting the right delivery. And I got to tell you, having a little kid saying something like, "Is it about Bob?" is freaky.
Yeah. I
you know what I mean? Because Laura talks about like, well, the abuse didn't start until she was 12. But at the same time, she was aware of Bob prior to being age 12. He had to like befriend her, in that grooming way.
Right.
So here we are. The big scene.
This scene is great.
The scene that was shot 3 times.
Yeah.
Shoot 3 times with 3 different actresses.
This next shot, all this stuff looks great. This next shot is great. I love this shot.
Oh, this one.
That's a great shot.
That's with the GoPro. to get that smooth gliding feel. And look at, I mean, Maddie just completely smacked her head on the ground in that shot. But so the idea is like, right, when you talk, like, you know, you're supposed to grab the dirt, right? And so they can come back to the same spot, but she doesn't have any pockets. So she's grabbing at the dirt. And it's like Leland talks about, you know, there's dirt under your fingernails.
Getting
so she's
it
like,
under the nails. Yeah.
She's trying to get under the nails. So she comes back.
Yeah. That's a nice touch. And then the other thing I love, and I didn't think about this till today, I was rewatching most of this stuff. This is kind of a Wizard of Oz moment.
Well, it's from season 3. I mean,
no. But think about, like, I don't know. I just got, maybe it's just because everyone's talking about the Lynch and Wizard of Oz and fake colossal tweets. But I love that it's like basically you got a vortex, kind of like a tornado, and then the slippers.
Yeah.
Her shoes.
Right.
The shoes being left behind, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's very fairy tale, like Cinderella. It's kind of the ruby slippers a little bit. Again, probably not intentional, and probably just bleed through from Lynch being obsessed with it anyway. I love that.
Right.
Bam.
I mean, I love the shoe to just dumping over like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that obviously, yes, but also the fact is, you know, Annie was supposed to be barefoot in Laura's bed and stuff like that, and so we had to get rid of we had to get rid of the shoes.
Interesting. Well, and Cooper lost his shoes going through the electrical outlet in The Return, episode 3 or whatever.
Right.
So I got all those vibes. I was like, oh, this is like Cooper losing his shoes. And the next time I watch him, like, oh, this is actually kind of like, and then this next shot.
But it's also like she gets there and she's like, okay, I'm here. Where are you? And they're not showing up. Right. And she's like, okay, was this all for nothing? Like, this is ridiculous. And right when she has that moment of doubt is when it kicks in. And then she kind of realizes, okay, this thing is for real. And then she's just like, she's controlling the situation. She's like, now, like, get me out of here. Because she doesn't know. Maybe the Black Lodge is coming after her from behind that. She doesn't know.
Right. So the other thing is, sorry, I'm still in the Wizard of Oz thing, but the shoes, after the shoes, then we come to this shot, which is, to me, it was very
tornado.
It's Dorothy in the tornado to me. Yeah. Which is, again, it's, who knows at this point.
Well, my feeling was in the show, you see Andy just disappear, right? And then he shows up with the giant. I wanted to go like, okay, if she's being like basically raptured up.
Yeah, let's see something.
Let's see it like, you know, she's in between the dust particles, you know what I mean? And then you see Laura's house on the screen, on the movie screen behind Freddy, which is obviously inspired by season 3. And that was to imply that they're going to send Andy right there.
Yeah.
So, and I just thought it'd be fun just to have Freddy be in there too. And then have Dido like waiting. It's like, okay, if you want to pause real quick, I'll tell you something else. Like when she looks, I didn't need to have Dido in this film. I didn't need to.
Yeah.
She didn't need to be in there. Right. I mean, she could have just shown up, had talked to Freddy and disappeared, and that'd be it. But I was like, you know,
it's worth it.
But back when I was originally started, one of the people that was involved with the film said, "Oh, could I play Dido?" And I said, "Sure." And then when they were no longer involved with the film, but then I kept thinking, well, I already said Dido was going to be in the film, so I'm not going to change it just because someone dropped out. Damn it, I'm going to have Dido in this film now. So I was determined to have her now in the film, even though she wasn't originally conceived to be in the film. And I'm so glad I did, because this actress looks incredible.
Yeah, that was a nice touch as well. I was not expecting that.
I just wanted to have that moment, because you said it's the little things. It's the more lived in details, you know?
Yeah, that's like make or break, really.
Well, there's a moment in Blue Velvet where Jeffrey and Sandy are walking on the sidewalk together after he does a little chicken walk. And it shows like this long shot of them walking on the sidewalk. And you hear the music, beautiful, badalamenti music. And then in the very distance, you hear a little foghorn blow, like real, or maybe a steam, you know, from some factory or something blow. It's way in the background. It does not need to be in the film, but because it's in the film, it's perfect because that is the mood, the tone, you know. And when Lynch talks about Larry and the sound, it's like, yeah, it makes sense because you create this whole world. You know, so. So anyway, this is where, and I love having Caroline just standing there. She doesn't say a thing. She's just there.
Right. Yeah.
Suspended in animation.
Right. Exactly.
And then doing the GoPro through the Black Lodge. I thought, the Black Lodge sequences are always static. They're always tripod, and I understand why. But I thought, wouldn't it be cool if you get a Martin Scorsese camera in there and just run it through the Black Lodge,
Yeah. And what's great is that it mirrors the shot of her getting tackled by the doppelganger in the opening act.
Right.
So it's almost the same shot without the doppelganger. So it's kind of this like perfect.
Now she's running.
Right. And it's a perfect bookend because now we're like at the end of the film, basically, right?
Well, we got one more act to go, but yeah.
No. I mean, but like, it's like something happened to, the Robins, right? Well, not exactly. The Robins are at the very end. I'm just saying sometimes you'll see something in the opening act or the opening sequence of a movie, and then again, like the bottom part of the the second act where everything's at its worst or whatever, and then when things start kind of moving towards like, oh no, we're gonna fight back and heading towards the climax or whatever, then some of those other things start to kind of like things early in the film start to kind of bleed into how this is going to end.
I like also how like she just meets Freddy in the White Lodge and he's like, who are you and what's going on? And the next scene, it's established that he's known her for a long time now. Like we've now jumped time, space, where it's like you could meet somebody 1 second and the next second you might know them for 30 years because you've been jumping back and forth in time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So even though this is her first time travel experience, it's establishing that she has gone on many different adventures with these people because they all know who she is,
Yeah. This is all great.
And again, going back down, everything's going backwards because she's going back in time, right?
Yeah.
And then I wanted to have this moment here of because it's the fireman and all that stuff. I wanted to have this thing with the sirens and the smoke, and I wanted to create this because in the script it just said that basically she looks over and there's Laura. But I thought it needs to be more presentational. It needs to be like we're here, arrival. You're at your arrival.
Yeah, I love this. I love the music when the music comes in and how this is all like the smoke and it's just kind of this slow dissolve and
then you see the pictures on the wall. You see the angel painting and the Mrs. Treatment's picture, and then it pans over. And I really wanted to just give that moment of like, what would it be? Annie's POV looking at Laura, looking down at her.
Yeah.
And of course, she looks exactly like Cheryl Lee. So.
Oh yeah. So tell me when did she get cast? When did she come on board? Was Laura a recast?
No. She was cast from the very start. It's just that I never had a start date for her. So she kept saying, well, when are we doing this? And I was like, soon. I'm trying to get everything together, But she goes, okay, just let me know when. And then I said, okay, we're ready to go. So we booked her dates and we shot her over 1 weekend. So we shot the Laura scene here, we shot the Black Lodge Laura, and then we shot the whole Carrie Page stuff.
Oh, so the ring, you told me, I had messaged you the other day. I was like, hey, where'd the ring come from? So where'd the ring come from? Because that looks better than the Showtime ring. And I went, did he have that made?
I didn't have it made. No, a friend of mine had an artist make them the ring a long time ago. And then they said, oh, I said, well, can I use it in the film? They said, yeah, go ahead. So I used it and gave it back to them.
Yeah. So this one is more opaque. Maybe I can find it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good thing. So
for folks watching, this is more of your jade kind of milky color. If you buy the Showtime one, and actually the one in the return looks a lot like the Showtime one. It's a little more shiny. Like the green is more kind of like cartoony green, and it's more like a green Jolly Rancher. You know how you can like kind of see through it.
Mm-hmm.
But the Ring and Fire Walk with Me is opaque, like a jade stone.
Right.
And this is definitely more how the symbol looks in Fire Walk with Me. So I had to do a double, triple, quadruple check on that. I'm like,
Right.
that looks more like the Fire Walk with Me ring than any other ring I've seen, like, ever.
Well,
the ring in the return is
Right.
different. It definitely looks more like the Showtime one. The Showtime one is kind of its own thing.
Right.
I'm just talking nitpicky.
Can you
the
go
Showtime
back?
one still looks good, but
Can you go back a little bit to when Annie's in the bed? There you go, right there. When Annie's in the bed. So like, I showed this to some people that were in the film, and they said, "Oh yeah, I remember this moment in Fire Walk with Me." And I said, "Yeah," and they said, "Oh, wait a minute, oh, that doesn't have the gram." Like they thought that this was an actual image from Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah, this whole scene is constructed great.
And of course, we even have the little lamp post right over here on the right, which is exactly in Fire Walk with Me too. And those are Laura's sheets and pillows and all that stuff. So we ended up just having a bigger bed than Laura has. So we had to like change up the some of the setup, but basically Annie's just like, she's just not in the right. I mean, her headspace. She's getting massive migraines here.
Oh yeah.
And of course, and that's the real fan in the Palmer house. So.
Oh nice. Oh crap! I skipped over. All right, so you got to tell people about this.
Which one?
Wait. Oh yeah, that's a great shot. This is all great.
So I gotta tell you that's one shot of the smoke, right? We were my wife and I and kid took a train ride through the woods, like like after the like right after the pandemic, it kind of, and we were right in the front. And we were going through the trees, and it was like blowing out the smoke. And I was like,
cool.
And I was like, oh, I gotta get some shots of that just in case. Whatever. And then of course I just took that shot and like reversed it and just made it. It looks like something out of the White Lodge or something.
Man, that looks awesome.
So, yeah. So this is the mission from Vertigo.
Yeah, you want to give the backstory on that for some people that don't know. So, like the Vertigo, the Hitchcock film, the finale of Vertigo.
Well, it's where the names Madeline, Ferguson, and Judy all come from. So Vertigo plays a pretty big part in the Twin Peaks mythos, along with other things, but it is one of them. And I thought, well,
David Lynch denies this, by the way. He's been asked about it. No, I mean, I'm with you 100%. He's been asked about Hitchcock. I saw an interview recently asked about Hitchcock, and the interviewers asked him about Vertigo being an obvious influence. He's like, no, not so much. Rear Window more so. Vertigo maybe a little bit. I'm think, like, yeah, okay, fair enough. But yeah, dude, Vertigo is huge in Lynch's mind, whether he knows it or not.
But I think Vertigo almost is a Frost thing. I think Rear Window is definitely Lynch, but I think a lot of stuff that Vertigo brings in, Madeline, Ferguson, all stuff, that's all like Frost.
You're right.
Season 1.
Yeah.
So
but I understand like the doppelganger thing, the spiral, the title sequence.
Yeah, but Frost did write season 3, with Lynch. So
yeah.
So I mean,
true.
I mean, they could have just put those ideas in there, and then Lynch, is just visually, like you said, Reservoir Dogs thing. Am I doing this because I'm homaging it, or is this so deep in my psyche that I just don't know I'm doing it?
Or did you just do it by chance, and I'm the one making those connections, not you? You know what I mean? Like that could be just as easy.
Right. Well, anyway, but Vertigo is a part of the Twin Peaks universe.
Yes, absolutely. Like no question. So this is where the finale of Vertigo was shot, and I think it's awesome. This is the sort of the finale of your film is shot here.
The idea was that we could have shot this in a lot of places, and I thought we're so close to this location. Let's go do this. I mean, and I wanted to acknowledge Annie's being in the nunnery and and that type of thing. But at this point, Freddie rips her out of this. She's like thinking she's deep in this whole thing, and Freddie goes, "Okay, we're gonna get you out of here," and she launches back up, and then she's in the Palmers, but not the. Originally, we were going to shoot the whole scene with little Laura like at the Palmer house, but that ended up not happening. So what we kind of justified in our minds was this was the apartment they were renting prior to moving into the house, like like where they were, just in our own heads we could place it. Anyway, so. And I wanted to have where little Laura just comes bursting out of this white light, which of course, makes sense considering that when she takes her face off, it's pure white.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of this little kid, in this little Catholic schoolgirl outfit, and Annie's like bleeding profusely from the face, and nobody's like freaked out from each other,
Yeah, the kid is it's very ethereal, very otherworldly. So to the kid, this may just be a dream, like.
I think, honestly, we shot Maddie without the makeup for the kid shot, and then the kid left, and then we shot Maddie's shots with the makeup on.
Not to freak her out.
No, I mean, her mom said, well, she's going to probably be wearing makeup, but I think that's what we ended up doing, just so Maddie could concentrate on with the makeup. But she's great, and she seems like like what you would expect Laura Palmer to be like as a little kid,
Yeah, totally. All right, we're gonna jump to the best part of the movie right here.
Oh God, no. So I looked for an actor for the longest time, couldn't find somebody, and Maddie was just like, it's a small part, you can do the voice, it makes sense. David Lynch played the part, you're directing the film, why don't you do it?
Yeah.
I was like, all right, fine. Now, what's ironic about this is that this is not where we were going to shoot this scene. We shot everything we needed to shoot that day, but I was really nervous about the lines, and so I said, Nico, can we just like put this on its feet and just kind of see what it's like, And he said, yeah, sure. So we just ran it and did this scene, and we were going to shoot this scene in another location, a little bit later in the schedule. I just wanted to kind of get my feet wet doing it. And then we lost the location because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So luckily we did shoot something. So anyway, so this test scene is what ends up being in the film.
By the way, man, your voice you nailed it. Like, I think by far you got the best Lynch voice I've ever heard.
It's not
when you did that.
It's the voice. It is the voice, but it's the inflection of the words, and when you pause in the sentence,
it's the when sunny California, Coop. It's like it's how it rolls out of the mouth. Like that was that was choice. Just so good.
Well, because I
was howling with laughter. I just thought that was amazing.
He talks about in the show about meeting Denise Bryson in Oakland, California, which is in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
So
right.
I wanted to pay tribute to that because we're going to get Cooper out of town so that Windham Earl can't really do anything to him.
Yeah.
And then I thought it would be really now. Listen, this scene in the script is earlier in the film, and I didn't really like its placement where it was, and so I held off on it, and I put it here as a remembrance because I thought it'd be really nice to kind of give Caroline a little moment in the latter part of the film, as opposed to just her dying off and then she doesn't come back, So I wanted to kind of leave this moment of like them being together, but at the same time leaving you with the idea that like she was a deeply, deeply troubled person. With her, like they're kissing all romantically, and then it just abruptly cuts to her sobbing in his arms. The idea of like she is sort of bipolar, manic depressive, and she had a lot of problems.
So we're gonna jump ahead just a bit, but I love the Chris Isaak song. I love this sequence too. This is great. Like this is what I'm talking about. Just like those little extra things. It's just like you could have just had him walk by looking sad, and with the music and what just happened, like what he's thinking about, what's on his mind, how upset he is, but you decided to do this shot, which was an extra 10 minutes or an hour or whatever it was to get this shot, but you took this shot, and it's like, this is an effective. I love this shot. This is an effective shot for me because you got the bridge. You got the dead girl on the sandbar. This is Laura. This is Teresa Banks. This is, I mean, and Annie's been out laying on Glastonbury. You know, Annie's been out, laying in the dirt this whole movie, right? So like this shot, just kind of like it's just again bringing it all home.
It is Twin Peaks.
Yeah, totally,
I mean,
totally.
It just feels like Twin Peaks. So we have David Bowie on the soundtrack, Chris Isaac on the soundtrack, and then the closing credits of the film and Act 5 is Amanda Seyfried singing Little Red Riding Hood. So I wanted to kind of incorporate other Twin Peaks actors, their music into it.
Yeah. Oh, what is this in California?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it has to be. Okay. Yeah, that looks great. This looks just like a lot of that stuff up there.
So, like for instance, this is deep in the woods of Carmel, California, and then Glastonbury Grove was filmed in Big Sur.
This is Pacific Northwest.
That's the Wash. So I'll show you this. So
I've been on this. Oh, this is Sparkwood.
Yeah.
Right?
So where she jumps out of the car is the opposite side of Sparkwood and 21.
Yes. So that's.
So she runs off into the woods in the same area that Laura runs off into the woods with James, just a little further down the road. And I show you Sparkwood and 21. I had to pay homage to the Diane Asian outfits there.
Yeah. Sorry, skipped over.
But right here, this
right
part.
here.
So when they hit the stop sign here, and then the camera pans to the right, it'll keep going for a second. And it'll pan to the right here, and bam, that is where Laura jumps off James's bike, and so then Annie jumps out.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you don't need to know this for story, but just for my own.
No. So for people that don't know, and this is in my video as well. Actually, I laughed because this is. I got my GoPro strapped to my head in my video. So my shot is this same shot, but you can see it's like my hands in the steering wheel and like the top of the car. But it's kind of the same thing. You pull up to the stoplight and I kind of look to the right because I didn't really know where I was at that point. I went through all my footage. I'm like, oh yeah, this is Sparkwood and 21.
Right.
So people, if you look to your left, right down here is Ronette's Bridge.
Right.
But if you look to the right, bam. So James and Laura are coming around on the motorcycle here. And
this is the turn. This is the turn where he drives off.
Yeah, this is the stop. She jumps off. She runs into the woods. In the movie, right here, all over these poles, they've got the stoplight is hanging like right here. But there isn't a real stoplight there. It's just a stop sign.
Right.
So anyway, little trivia for you all.
Anyway, so I wanted to have them at the stop sign, and then that's where Annie jumps out.
Yeah.
So it's obviously Cooper.
Oh, so he's in the Bay Area.
He's now in the Bay Area, so and Norma runs after her.
So let's get to.
So Annie in the right there in the this is Big Sur, California, which is very much looks like the Pacific Northwest, especially when you go deep into the woods.
Yeah.
With her running by the stream and stuff like that. That's still California. And we shot this, I think, a week before lockdown.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I love that shot too. That's a return type shot.
And those are the trees like in the area. So like and look at Maddie, look at what a trooper running down this road with bare feet.
Yeah.
She had a lot of scrapes and marks that day.
So you shot all of the Glastonbury Grove stuff all at once.
Yes. So we shot all of this here, and then as it got closer to nighttime, we shot.
Oh, she totally biffs it right there. That was great. Her fall that she takes right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, it hurt. It hurt too.
Oh man, yeah, no kidding.
But I mean, it was done on purpose. She did it on purpose. It wasn't
No, I know it, but it looks real, and it looked like it hurt.
Oh, it did. So just movie making trick here, guys. You'll appreciate this. So I needed to have Sheriff Truman arrive. So we have the truck go, and the truck is at the Dirtfish. So if you just move the camera at a certain area. You know what I mean? You can create the illusion movement, and if you put sound effects, looks like the truck is halting to a stop. So,
I was going to ask you, like, how many scenes was this again, and how many?
150.
Yeah, dude. So this is, they shot this scene the same time. I know this is super common in movies. I'm always thinking about, like, if I had done this myself, like, how did you take every scene, and like, what did you, I'm assuming you had a shot list and schedule, like, did you do all of that, or did Maddie help you put all that together?
No,
or was that kind of all?
No, I did all that.
Was that all, like, ready to go because you had it all, like?
I had a lot of time before we started.
Well, I was going to say, but before, like, the lead up to it, like, you probably.
I had a lot,
because you told me, sorry, people that don't know, like, this whole, like, they had to haul in these trees to Glastonbury Grove.
Yeah.
They got kicked out by the forestry department, right? Like, so that was a whole production. And, if you just want to think about, I mean, movies do this all the time. Everything's shot out of sequence. I mean, rarely is something shot chronologically, but
right.
So you got Glastonbury Grove at night when the ambulance comes, you got the thing, you got Annie, and Norma has to be there, and Harry's got to be there, and you have to have this and you have to have that, and it's just like, and that was all set up. You got a flatbed truck, right? And you had white sycamore trees.
No, we had just a couple of people that were driving there, with us, that just put them in the back of the cars.
Put them in the cars. Yeah. Wild.
And of course, this touches on the whole missing pieces sequence of me with the nurse taking the ring, and I thought it'd be really fun to have her as she's walking out the door bumping into Norma. And then take off. So who knows where the ring goes now? But I wanted to have that moment there. It kind of just takes the supernatural and puts it in a human context. And then Norma's big speech here that you're getting to with Annie in the chair. So obviously, I knew I wanted to have a moment of Norma, saying something to Annie, that was heartfelt. But Mark Frost wrote this huge, and I don't mean this to sound mean, but the first time you read that section about Annie's and Norma's relationship with the dads and stuff like that, it's very confusing, might be a little convoluted for my taste. It's like very much like, wait a minute, I thought Vivian was the mom and, they were just the sisters. Yeah. It's so complex, but I wrote it down, traced it out exactly the way it's, and then have Norma repeat it. And the way Norma says it here doesn't seem convoluted at all.
Right.
So it's like, I think it just reads that way because you're kind of taken aback by what the heck are you talking about? I thought it was this, but it's this. And so I wanted to have Norma illustrate it in a way that would make it kind of feel like it made sense.
Like legible, or intelligible or whatever. No, I remember that. I've only read that maybe once or twice, but it's like reading the Bible, right? It's like, and then Mohem begot Abraham, who begot whatever and married so-and-so, and then she's MT Wentz, but not really, but she's kind of her mom. Actually, she's Norma's stepmom technically. And you're like, what? But no, this is a great job of just like breaking it all down. So in case anybody wondered the ins and outs of
but it also
their
was
relationship.
It's also something that Norma would say, not thinking that Annie's really hearing her,
Yeah.
She doesn't know that Annie's hearing her. So and I thought to have this kind of quiet moment here and then leave her in the chair and then do the whole like I'm fine sequence and stuff like that, I thought is it's just leaving her alone in the chair. And I mean, Norma does say in season 3 that like she franchised the diner and some of that because she wanted to take care of her family. Well, the books, Mark Frost's book, Final Dossier, definitely hints at the fact that she did that because she had to help pay for Annie, to stay here.
Right.
So this kind of,
that's right.
Now they don't mention Annie in that equation, but that's the family Norma has. She doesn't have anybody else.
Right. So, yeah. Basically.
Right. So, and then I think Sarah did a great job here with this.
Oh yeah. This whole sequence is great.
Yeah, so this is 25 costume changes, and the idea was that she's going through the between season 2 to season 3.
Yeah,
and then when Cooper rescues Laura, that's what triggers the earthquake. And there's a moment in the final dossier where Tamara Preston or Tammy Preston writes that I can feel the timelines moving. I can feel something happening. My memory's fading and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to create that after Cooper rescues Laura, then Annie would slowly be disappearing from the chair. And then that would send her back to season 2 prior to everything happening. And then, but she would have the knowledge of everything that's been happening.
Right.
And then that is setting up the new timeline. I love the horse. Isn't that horse cool? It's like reminds you of like all the Part 18 stuff with Carrie Page and the horse outside the restaurant.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a bunch of there's another one. Yeah. So there's multiple horse things going on. That's great.
Yeah, she's just kind of like all over. Look at the horses everywhere.
There's one there. There's one there. There's one in the painting off to her side. Yeah, that's great.
And I put it on the Facebook page, like this establishing shot of her in all the outfits, and people are like, "Oh my god!" Like how many? I like how dead. Like she looks so like dead here. And I wanted to kind of freak people out and have it cut to black and have her saying, "I'm fine, I'm fine, fine," and make people think, "Oh my god, is that how you're going to end this film?" Is like her in just total darkness going, "I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine." And then when it fades back up and she's still doing, "I'm fine," I'm like, the idea was that, it's like, okay, then she disappears from the chair. And then you're like, oh, is that how you're going to end it? Like, we don't know. It's going to be this mystery. Where'd she go? No,
right.
We're going to continue on. And then it's like, oh, she's at Norma's house. Oh, there's Carrie Page scream. Oh, is that how you're going to end it? Wait a minute. Where's she walking? Like now it's like, it just keeps going. And you're like, where is this gonna go?
Now this is sorry, I can't remember because the volume's not on, but it's Elvis.
Yeah, it's Elvis, and it's talking about how different acts and stuff like that, and then how everybody's playing a part. And so we shot the establishing shot of the chair there for about 5 minutes, and then we shot her in the chair for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
faded her out, and then this is now some of the matting, because we weren't expecting to do this as a matte.
Right.
So some of it looked better as black and white. So I did that. And then when Annie says, "This is the real world," it then all of a sudden shifts to color. But I also wanted to bring in the fact that since we were going to cut to the fireman or the giant watching this on a screen, I wanted to kind of give you the feeling like this is already the screen. We just haven't backed up yet. So like Annie says, this is the real world, right here. And then, let's see right here. This is the real world. And then it all of a sudden goes to color.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's okay.
That was not done.
Yeah. Okay. And then when the fireman is watching him, then it goes back to black and white.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we were gonna not have this. I mean, this whole thing with the giant watching them is not in the script. I mean, you're supposed to just be watching them in the diner,
right? No, I remember that. Yeah.
But the problem is that some of the matte lines just were, again, we shot this in a real cafe. It just didn't look quite. We thought, well, if we could get it more like the Double R Diner, it'd be really awesome. But that we didn't shoot them in front of a green screen. That meant that the band doing the visual art had to literally carve them out of every shot and put them in, and occasionally frame by frame, right? Yeah. And it's 30 frames per second. So, but a lot of the every once in a while, the matte line would kind of sneak in there, and I was kind of okay with it for a while because I thought, well, it's the new timeline, and maybe things are shifting. But I thought, let's do it where like he's watching on the screen. It looks classy in black and white, and it also ties her in more with the Light Lodge and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, I like it. And then fade to my favorite shot. Bam!
Where you kind of
that was great because
he pops out of nowhere, and then they're popping in and out. Yeah.
Well, again, like, were you like, oh, like the pilot? Oh, like there's multiple ducks in the pond.
Well, like I said, the gazebo we shot at was in a different location than what we were expecting, so I needed to tie them into the water. Next to the water.
I mean, but were you conscious like, oh, ducks in the pond?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yes.
No, that's good. That's
But
good. Because
I
like I
didn't
said,
I,
this
I
is
didn't
like,
know what the ducks were gonna do, but I just thought I'll get some shots of the ducks and then I'll just use the shots I liked. So,
and then
we have Cooper's jacket over the banister so you don't see the building behind him.
right.
It's a low budget film. Thanks.
Oh crap. Well, anyway, he says something about changing time or causing
Yeah.
ripples in time, and then show the ducks again. But and
It's
then
after, it's after the kid. It's after the kid.
oh, it's after the kid. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So you got him meeting Cooper, Annie meeting Cooper back when he was a kid. So this is from the Scott Frost novel,
Right.
but or, yeah. Oh, I was going to say, I've seen some confusion about this. So like there's the Scott Frost novel, the My Life, My Tapes, Dale Cooper, but then there was an audio recording of Kyle MacLachlan, and that is just him talking to Diane. Like it's not the audio version of that book. There are like two different tapes of Agent Cooper. There's the book, and then there's the MacLachlan doing the bits
tape
from the show.
And the tape is just season 1. It's the ones you hear in the show. It's the ones you hear in the show, and then ones that would take place in between the shows.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's basically him riding in Twin Peaks, and then like you would just get a few extra little snippets in there. But it ends in season 1. It's just season 1. You don't get You don't get the prior, world of Wyndham Earl with Cooper and stuff like that. So this right here is a different location from the gazebo.
Oh wow, it looks it's pretty seamless.
Right. Well, this is a low budget just film trick to do, is you tie in 2 different locations together.
Yeah.
But like I said, if we had shot where we wanted to shoot, you would have seen the gazebo and the lake in one shot. But look at Maddie here's Annie. I mean, that is the exact outfit that Heather Graham comes walking into the diner in when they meet Gordon and Shelley at the diner.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I basically looked up Amish clothes. And it's like I know I'm kidding, but it's like, Annie did not have the greatest wardrobe in season 2.
Right.
They kind of thought that like this Christian girl would be like dressed to the neck, like
fresh out of a comment.
Yeah, but like oh god, what was Richard Nixon? What was the
like the German Baptist?
No, it was like I can't remember. But anyway, it was like whatever. But anyway, it was just like it's very much like monastery clothes, like no skin, no knees showing. So the fact that Annie's wearing a t-shirt in this film and stuff, that's more skin than Heather Graham showed at all in Twin Peaks. And Annie kisses a few guys in the film too. So I would joke with Maddie, I say, Annie gets more action than Laura Palmer does in this movie.
I just wanted to show this shot real quick.
Yeah.
I love this shot because again, like kind of like the ripples with the ducks. This is kind of like, I don't know however you want, a halo, but it's also just like a splintering time, splintering energy, kind of like like his head is it's kind of like his mind has now been blown, right?
Right.
So Audrey or Annie has filled him in on basically his new destiny or whatever.
Right.
So it's kind of like the nuclear explosion, kind of like his mind's been blown. You've got these like radiating circles like out of his halo. And it's also kind of like everything connects to Cooper. I mean, there's a million different reasons I think the shot is cool. I just think it works for a lot of different reasons.
It's a very much a happy accident. It's the top of the gazebo.
Yeah.
It also we had him standing up, which if I took it straight on him, you would see the fact that they're not in the woods surrounded by trees. Yeah. So I had to shoot it down low and up. But again, happy accident because I think it's a cool looking shot. So.
Yeah, it's great.
and he definitely looks like he's no this. You want to know a funny thing about this? So we needed to shoot this sequence, and we couldn't find anybody that we could shoot at. So Maddie and I were driving on the street looking at potential locations, and this house was for sale, and so we just went on the property and shot the scene.
Awesome.
We just waited till like some mid-afternoon where we knew nobody was going to be showing the house, so we just went on the property and shot the scene. So you got to steal those shots, folks.
Yeah, this is great. I love that she's back with Dean.
So someone asked me the other day, like, well, how come Dean doesn't remember her? Well, it's because this is a week earlier than when she met.
Right. This is technically a week before Miss Twin Peaks.
Right.
Anyway.
Now so it wasn't in the script. It wasn't in the script. But obviously, if I had like a big budget to do this, I probably would have loved to have recreated the whole Miss Twin Peaks situation of like,
man, yeah.
and seen Lana getting it and stuff like that. And I think that would have been hilarious. It wasn't in the script, but I'm just thinking like if I could have gone even bigger, like because I've interviewed Ian Buchanan and stuff like that, and I thought it'd be hilarious if like Dick Tremaine like gave it to Lana like on stage. It'd be hilarious.
Man, that would be cool. I mean, that's what I foresee. Like, well, maybe not that specifically, but if they continue on with Twin Peaks somehow, like I said, I think the smart thing to do would just be to reboot it. But I mean,
I have
basically what I'm saying is they could go back to just the concept. Girl dies in town, FBI agent shows up, and kind of the George Lucas, it's poetry, rhyming, or rebooting, or however you want to do it. But like you could have a Miss Twin Peaks pageant again where your Annie character loses, right? I mean, pretty much the options are all limitless at this point.
This story was always meant to be a self-contained film. However, just in case, I keep putting this out there just because you never know. My wife says if you want something, put it out there. So if there was ever a moment where Lynch Frost Productions or Showtime or whatever wanted a new book or wanted a little offshoot miniseries, I did figure out how to continue this and also Twin Peaks proper in something that would be in continuity and would be completely fantastic. So anyway, but yeah, having all the lights go out, fantastic. I wanted to create this because I think you even said this to me. You said, because the show just shows Laura's house go out. And I thought, wouldn't it be really cool if pretty much the whole town went out?
Yeah.
And there's a few, obviously we have to cheat a little bit with some lights. Otherwise you would see nothing. So you see her looking up and then you'll see like one light at the, on the electrical pole that's still on. That accounts for this light on her here. But then when she's, walking through town and stuff like that, like, I just wanted to create this feeling like she's pretty much just walking through darkness. And then she's, she passes Donna's house because I'm a big believer that Donna is going to play a crucial factor moving forward at some point. So I wanted to acknowledge that. Obviously the diner, it's where she and Norma live and work. And then ending at the Palmer house. I thought, because originally, I got to tell you this, when I was writing this, I thought, what's going to be the new ending for this? And I thought, you know what would be cool is like, you hear the screen, lights go out, and Annie just knows that like the plan is in motion, and she goes in the house and the Firewalk Me theme is playing, and we back up and the credits roll. And I thought, what am I doing? That's ridiculous, because we have her talking with Laura and Cooper as little kids. The whole point would be to have all three of them together in one scene, and this is the moment where you could do that. And she's not going to teleport herself there. So let's have her just completely command the street, walk through town like she owns the place. You know what I mean? And also it gives us, because this is the final moment of this movie or series, it allows you to kind of retrospectively look back at your Twin Peaks experience, and like she's moving through the town. It's making you feel like I love this show. I love the movie. You know what I mean? It makes you just kind of reminisce about Twin Peaks as she's walking through the town, and then end it at the end of season 3, which I thought it'd be really fun to like take it 5 minutes past season 3, just 5 minutes, just to kind of give us, just a hint of where it could go. And I'm so happy that people are happy with this, because I mean, I didn't know what people were going to think. Who knows? Twin Peaks fans are not usually happy with Twin Peaks endings, right?
Right. Well, I was going to say, like, hey, yeah, if you drop the ball in the ending, like, it wouldn't be the first time in Twin Peaks.
I'm just saying that every ending of Twin Peaks, except for season 1, like everybody, gets all upset about it because it always ends with these cliffhangers. This ends with the cliffhanger too, although emotionally it doesn't. I mean, we don't know what happens after, but emotionally, It's like Cooper, Laura, Annie. No matter what happens, they're a team, and they have Freddie that's kind of overseeing them. They're working with the giant, or at least Annie is. And after all this is over, Annie can just beam herself back and go right back to Norman's house like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
Because Cooper says when he's doing the chess with Wyndham, well, the queen can move forwards and backwards and sideways and diagonal, because they're talking about the chessboard. But he's really describing what Annie's fate is she's basically the Wonka Vader. She can go any which way in time, backwards, forwards, diagonal, and she's a Time Lord, basically.
Yeah.
And I love this idea where like they're still confused, like what is going on, and then she kind of gives them a look, and then they all in unison turn, and it's like, okay, now they all know where they're at. They're not in that confusion space of what year is this. Doesn't matter what year it is. The point is that shit's about to go down.
Yeah, it's the good versus evil showdown that, I mean, we're kind of hinted at as that's what's going on in the return, but yeah, like none of it emotionally makes any sense or anything.
No, and I also wanted to just go almost so close to the line of like jumping the shark. It's like we're gonna have Laura take off her face. We're gonna have Woodsman there. We're gonna have a frog moth. We're gonna have all this stuff, and then it's like right before you're like, oh my god, this is getting out of control. It's over, and so it's like, okay. The idea was just to kind of get it so big and then cut it, And I think she looks great there, and they all look great.
Yeah.
And Nico really does look like an older, weathered Cooper at this point.
Yeah.
It's probably because I kept them up late, like shooting for so many days. But anyway, so there it is, and I'm really happy when people write and they go, "Wow, the wait was completely worth it," because like it just makes me happy because it did take a long time to finish, but. And I'm really happy too when obviously this is a non-canon thing, it's a fan film, etc. But it does make me happy when people say to me, I cannot watch the series and the movies without also watching this as part of a missing piece. Like that's kind of a cool thing, which is always what I wanted. I always wanted this to just sit alongside that.
Yeah, I think it will for sure. I mean, I've probably watched it all the way through at least 3 or 4 times. And it, like I said, doing the acts is cool because you can take it like episodes, or hopefully soon within the next however long your export's going to take.
Yeah.
Hopefully within the next like week or something.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. But yeah, he's exporting the entire thing all at once now. And something 4 hours long is,
well, right now,
you can have the best computer in the world. A 4-hour movie is not going to be an easy export.
We're at 20 hours right now, so we'll see where we're at. But I could not be more thrilled with the film. I mean, like obviously the pandemic screwed up some things. We had to change some things around, but it was one of those things where we kind of could see that we were going to have to change something, so we started thinking about it and found alternatives that still fit within the piece that if you didn't know, right, like you would never know. You would think that the script was always that way. So I was happy that we were able to kind of dot the I's and cross the T's and not leave like gaping holes in narrative or something like that, But yeah, I think all the actors, they all came through, and it's just like, yeah, I mean, Caroline is considered to, people really like that character, and I really hope that like if David Lynch and Mark Frost ever see this, that they see this as as something that is just made with pure love and affection. I mean, I don't know how Frost could watch Act 5 and not go, wow, he really respects my material. Like there's the whole I'm fine sequence, and
oh yeah,
the stepdad thing at Christmas and all that. So
yeah, absolutely. And this is the only place you're going to see probably ever that stuff. You know what I mean? Like on film, unless by some crazy chance they do more. But
yeah, and I was really happy that people liked the whole, because I kept it really on the hush hush, the whole Annie Tulpa switch out at the hospital. When people saw that, they like literally their mouths dropped, which because I kept it totally secret, because everyone thought that the pictures that were showing of Annie in the hospital was Annie in the hospital, not realizing I was going to switch her out, because I was like, she has to get out of the hospital. How is she going to get out of the hospital? Frost has her staying in the hospital. And I was like, well, if they told her and switch her out, we can do both. We can have the final dossier Annie in the hospital and have Annie still out and about doing stuff. So,
yeah.
Before we go, let me ask you what to you stands out the most, because you were with it from the beginning. You were not the beginning, but you read the script prior to me shooting. You see the film. Does it play differently than what you read? Or and how do you feel like the film plays compared to what you read?
I honestly I think it's, if I was going to criticize I'm glad I did. I'm glad you let me and trusted me to read the script before, but it did kind of like take away from the experience, because I knew what was going to happen. So like that Tulpa stuff, like I knew that was going to happen. There were some little things like here and there, but so part of me was kind of like, I'm big into the surprise factor. Like I would have loved to have seen a lot of that stuff and been like, oh, okay, this is what he's doing. But now we're going on like, this was like 3 years ago. Right. I knew what was, and I read the script like twice probably. So I'm like, definitely kind of, there's stuff I've forgotten that I'm just like, but when it comes up on screen, I'm like, oh yeah, then this is going to happen. Yeah, it all came together as you described it in the script. And I'm still in shock that you did all of it. Well, I was just like, man, like there's this, I didn't know how many scenes there were, but I'm like, well, they're at the Double R and Glastonbury Grove and the FBI offices and Pittsburgh and Diane's office and some like store that they're going to have a robbery in. And this is going to happen. I'm like, man, how is he going to do it all? And you did it all. You did all of it.
But I thought it would be, honestly, a little easier, because I was like, okay, we have the hospital room for Annie, and then we have the Caroline Wyndham house. And that, and then we had Dean's apartment. Like I thought for the most part, it's like, it's in one of those 3 locations. And it pretty much is, but then there's lots of little ones too, little things.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I mean, I'd love to see your, like workbook. I don't know what, that's what I call it. I don't know what real directors call it, but like I want to see like the shots and scheduling and like the shot list, because if you screw up one thing, then you're boned. If you forget one little shot at Glastonbury Grove, so it takes you like all day to set all that stuff up, and then you got to shoot for as long as you can, and it's going to take all night to tear it all down. And, we just missed this one shot. You forget one shot, and I mean there's pickups and things, but that's hard to do when you're dependent on a location. And
no,
you could mat in something, but it's if you forget a shot, then you're screwed. And when you're shooting it all out of order, then that's even worse, because then it's even more confusing, right?
Well, yeah, but thankfully, I mean, we basically shot it in order. We get to the location, and I would be like, okay, we're going to start from the first shot. And we worked our way through it.
Oh, and chronologically per location.
Yes.
Okay. I see. Yeah, that probably helps.
So like, we would just, whatever shot we decided to start with, we would just go there, and then once we got to a certain spot, the stop, then we would start it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We would just kind of take it in pieces. And but yeah, I mean, I can't say enough wonderful things about all the actors involved. And of course, Maddie came in at the right moment, and I just just because of my schedule and what was going on in my life, and there was just no way I was going to be able to get this up on its feet all by myself. And in fact, I never thought I was going to have to, but then I ended up being put in that position. So it was great that she came in, and I just said, okay, we need to get all this stuff done. And she helped me get that stuff done. And then I got some other stuff done, and we put our heads together, and we got the thing up in 4 months. And then she ended up playing the part, and and then we just rolled, and off we went. So
yeah, it's amazing.
I tell people it's a miracle this film came out, because there were so many. It's almost like the universe was like, this is going to happen. Okay. Eventually it's going to come together and happen. And then it all, like you said, like one time you were like, are you talking to me? And I'm like, yeah, it's not coming together. And the next time you talked to me, I was like, we're almost done shooting.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was that fast. So
yeah, man. Well, once again, congrats. We're going to wrap this up here, I think.
Yeah.
But this was good. I think we got like the definitive, maybe not the definitive. I'm sure you're going to do maybe some of your own behind the scenes content, but I think we got through almost the whole thing. And even if you haven't seen it, I mean, yeah, definitely some spoilers in there, but you should still go check it out. Again,
and do me a favor, those of you watching this, share it with Twin Peaks fans that or David Lynch fans, because it's a lot of people are not hearing about this film, and I think it would be really cool if you guys could share it. And
search Annie Blackburn in the search bar on YouTube and you'll find it, and subscribe to Cameron at Obnoxious and Anonymous. You want to tell people where they can find you? I'll see if I can find you.
Yeah, just look up Obnoxious and Anonymous on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. And then also Queen of Hearts is on Facebook in a private group, and it's on Twitter and on Instagram.
Nice. There, subscribe to Cameron right there. Go check out Queen of Hearts. Leave questions, comments here. Go to his channel, leave questions and comments, share it with everybody. Like I said, I'm probably not going to do a live video or interviews or anything. You're probably not going to hear from me till my next proper video essay is done, probably more like the end of the summer. So thanks for everybody tuning in. Any final words?
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to me about this, because I worked my tail off to make this, and or we all did, and I'm just glad to be able to talk about it, because I don't know. To me, there's not anything new Twin Peaks related coming out, so it's nice to deep dive into something.
Yeah, and this is you pretty much gave us an epic. It's epic, man. It's like 4 hours long.
It is when the whole film is when the whole film is put up. It is 4 hours on the dot.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
I had to compete against Twin Perfect. So.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. If you can watch a 4.5 hour critique of it, you might as well watch a cool story instead.
And I do a better David Lynch impersonation. So.
Yes, he does by far. I love it. All right. Great time. Thanks, everybody. See you, Cameron. We'll talk soon. You guys have a good one.